Konoha, becoming a great capitalist starting from Tobirama's resurrection. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author, we're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 51 Digging a Grave in the Middle of the Night. Gold, a large wheel appeared in the void. Uchiha tapped the lottery button, clenching his other hand into a fist, straining until his fingers turned slightly white. 10 consecutive draws. Uchiha no longer believed a single draw could yield a miracle. The goddess of miracles never lifted her skirt to allow him to peek into the secrets of the miracle. Go big, then disperse quickly. Television, refrigerator, a piece of high-quality chakra-conducting metal, air conditioner, bench, ninjutsu, impure world reincarnation, 3 kune, radio, 3 detonating tags, 6 god, a string of prizes appeared, 6 white, 3 green, and 1 red. No gold again. Damn it. What a rubbish wheel. After venting his frustration, Uchiha took a closer look at the prizes and decided they were just okay, barely acceptable. A single piece of chakra-conducting metal could fetch hundreds of thousands of taels on the market. When it's in short supply, it can only be bought on the black market, where it can fetch over 1 million taels. He saved it for his ninja sword. As for those appliances, they were useless, completely useless at the moment. Electricity wasn't widespread in Konoha yet. Uchiha Kusunoki's attention shifted to the ninjutsu he'd drawn this time. It was his biggest reward. Impure world reincarnation. The most flawed ninjutsu in the Naruto world, it snatched souls from the god of death, or perhaps from the sage of 6 paths, but that didn't matter. By fully utilizing this technique and diligently digging up the graves of the powerful day and night, one could single-handedly spark a ninja war. The day Uchiha Kusunoki found the Book of Sealing, he eagerly read the Impure World Reincarnation technique. The Impure World Reincarnation version currently recorded in the Book of Sealing was still a crude one, with only a fraction of the ninja's strength remaining. They could simply be used with detonating tags to become self-destructing infantry. No effort was made to uncover the true strength of the reincarnated beings until Orochimaru's sudden appearance rectified this, and later Kabuto Yakushi further refined it. With the right sacrifice, a rebirth could be achieved that most closely resembled the strength of the reincarnated being. And the impure world reincarnation that the wheel gave was the final version. Extract. All information regarding the impure world reincarnation instantly reached Uchiha. Now that he had mastered this technique, he could begin attempting the tasks offered by the wheel. Those tasks with golden rewards filled Uchiha's heart with envy. He opened the wheel's task interface and set his sights on one of them. Long-term task, recognition of the seniors. The host must obtain the sincere recognition of the successive Hokage. The only way to gain their recognition was to resurrect them through the impure world reincarnation. They weren't all dead, their souls already in the Pure Land. Recognition was meaningless unless they were summoned. Senju Tobirama was easy to deal with. Uchiha had never met him, so a discussion about the will of fire and the like should be easy. Plus, the Hokage's divine robes were a natural token of trust. Unlike Senju Tobirama, who looked askance at the Uchiha clan, Tobirama should be easily accepted. The only problem was Senju Tobirama. Uchiha frowned slightly. If you were to meet Senju Tobirama in person, wearing the Hokage's divine robes, he'd probably start with, "You evil brat born of the Uchiha clan. I'm going to kill you." A vision flashed through Uchiha's mind. What a horrible, presumptuous guy. Senju Tobirama's prejudice against the Uchiha clan was truly profound. While the image wasn't pretty, Uchiha was still looking forward to it. He'd killed the heir chosen by Senju Tobirama and become Hokage himself. If Senju Tobirama knew all this, his expression would surely be quite amusing. It should be an expression of impotent rage. Just thinking about it makes Uchiha excited. Without further ado, Uchiha decided to take action tonight and dig up the graves of Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama to take some cells from them. Poor Senju Tobirama, not long after he was buried, his grave was dug up by himself. While making plans to dig the grave, Uchiha mourned for Senju Tobirama. Digging graves is a delicate job. For the two brothers, Hashirama and Senju Tobirama, the graves of these two brothers are not easy to dig. If someone is alarmed, It will be a big problem, especially at such a sensitive time. He had just become Hokage, and the graves of previous Hokage were dug up. This is a slap in his face. There can't be any mistakes. Late at night, Uchiha Non chose the time at 2 or 3 in the morning. At this time, no one would be hanging around the cemetery in Konoha, unless someone wanted to come here to dig graves. Soon, Uchiha Non arrived at Hashirama Senju's grave. Forceful demolition was out of the question. Earth-style, earth-walking immortal, he formed seals with his hands, his body merging with the earth. He quickly reached the spot where Hashirama Senju's coffin lay. The Hokage's burial was carried out with great care. A separate chamber had been excavated beneath the ground, where Hashirama Senju's coffin lay. When Non opened the coffin, the sight inside made his pupils shrink. The body hadn't decayed, but remained perfectly intact. Even though Hashirama Senju is dead, his cells still clung to life, a truly miraculous sight. Had Hashirama not been breathing, Non would have believed he was merely asleep. Was this the true value of the ninja world's greatest figure? Non pulled out the sealing scroll, ready to destroy everything. Hashirama Senju's body was a true treasure. Leaving it in this dark place was a waste. He should return to the laboratory and continue to shine for Konoha. After packing up Hashirama Senju's body, Uchiha Non rushed to the grave of Tobirama Senju. A coffin sat in the center of a small room beneath the grave. He opened the coffin, and a stench of corpses hid him. It was quite strong. He didn't dwell on it. Since both brothers were killed, he couldn't treat one the same. He packed them up and took them both away. He quickly returned home, finding the lights still on. Feng and Ling, lying in bed, heard the noise and immediately opened the door for him. "Are you still awake?" "Yes," Feng and Ling replied in unison. He was quite touched by the fact that the two sisters, clearly exhausted, had waited for him to return. He went to the bathroom and took a shower. Digging graves so late at night was unlucky, a shower was necessary to ward off the bad luck. Afterward, he put his arms around the sisters' slender waists and returned to bed. The feeling of being embraced by them was truly wonderful. It was too late, and Uchiha Non didn't plan to do anything. He just hugged her and fell asleep smelling the body fragrance of the two sisters. Chapter 52, Revive, My Hashirama. Early morning. After a long moment of parting lips, Keed's cheeks flushed slightly, her neck a faint pink. She couldn't tell if it was from shyness or lack of oxygen from kissing too long. "Good morning, kiss." Keed and Suzu readily agreed to Uchiha Kusunoki's trivial request. Suzu was next. Uchiha Kusunoki lowered his head at the sight of Suzu's rosy lips. "Come back soon." "Yes," Uchiha Kusunoki nodded, walked out to the Hokage building, and began his workday. Now that the funding has arrived, the ninja school needs to continue recruiting students. "How are the plans for this year's enrollment going?" Uchiha Kusunoki looked at Narashikeon in front of him and inquired about this year's ninja school enrollment. The continuous wars had nearly wiped out a generation of the ninja clan. Having the ninja clan constantly on the front lines wasn't a good idea after all. The original purpose of the ninja school was to train civilian ninja on a large scale. In the future of Konoha, civilian ninja would become the mainstream. While their average quality might not match that of the clan, they would have the advantage of being more numerous. With such a large base of ninjas, there will always be top-notch ninjas, such as Orochimaru and Jiraiya, who both started out as commoner ninjas. They may not yet be famous in the ninja world, but their achievements are limitless, practically overwhelming the ninjas of their generation. During the Third Shinobi World War, even monsters like Minato Namikaze emerged. It's necessary to spend a fortune to suppress commoner ninjas. Furthermore, the principal of the Ninja Academy has always been the Hokage of Konoha, and every student who graduates from the academy can call themselves the Hokage's student, though few do so because they all have to maintain their dignity. Only a few, if the Hokage personally accepts them as apprentices and teaches them by his side, can they freely claim the Hokage as their teacher. As the Hokage, Uchiha Kusunoki naturally has his own faction, and these commoner ninjas who graduated from the Ninja Academy are naturally part of it. Uchiha Kusunoki is naturally deeply concerned about this future power that will belong to him. "Hokage-sama, we used to enroll 800 students annually, but that was reduced to 500 due to funding constraints. Given the rapid decline in Konoha's ninja population due to the war, I believe we need to expand enrollment. The tentative number is set at 1,400. Narashikeon held up a plan and explained the ninja school's future enrollment and resource allocation. These were easy to solve. It was just a matter of spending money. The only difficult issue is the teachers. Narashikeon's face showed frustration. A school's most valuable asset is naturally its faculty. However, the quality of teaching at the ninja school is currently a struggle. All the capable fighters have been thrown into the battlefield, leaving behind only the old, weak, and disabled. The strongest are only chunin, and those are still disabled. A new group of strong teachers must be recruited, but choosing the right ones is a difficult task. The best ones, of course, are from the ninja clan. They are reliable and veterans with extensive combat experience. However, the ninja clan wasn't wealthy, and with the loss of their young, they were constantly pushing their clan members to have children. Naturally, the children would be raised by the clan. Sending their children to Ninja Academy would likely be a struggle. Not to mention that he had already embezzled a large portion of their funds to develop Konoha. If they were to place their best ninjas as teachers at a ninja academy, they'd probably be furious. I'll have the Uchiha send a group of ninjas to the academy later. As for the remaining vacancies, send someone to tell Hinata Takuma I'm recruiting 4 assistant Hokages, and he'll be one of them. He'll know what to do. Uchiha Kusunoki decided to give Hinata Takuma some responsibilities as a token of his alliance. Konoha had so much going on that he couldn't possibly handle it all himself. He also needed time for training, so many things had to be delegated to the Hokage's assistants. This naturally included task allocation, personnel deployment, battle command, and funding. It was clear how much power Hinata Takuma would not refuse. Also send someone to inform Momoa Senju that there is a vacancy for Hokage's assistant, and have him transfer some people from Senju. The Senju clan still needs to be used, and Uchiha Kusunoki also wants to ease the relationship with Momoa Senju. Notify Uchiha Tomita that there is a vacancy for Hokage's assistant, and have him reorganize Konoha's Anbu, and reshuffle the previous Anbu organization. As the Hokage's direct subordinates, the Anbu must be firmly under his control. Every blade of grass and every tree in Konoha is controlled by the Anbu, and intelligence cannot be lost. In the past, it has always been controlled by the Senju, so much so that after the death of Tobirama Senju, Uzumaki Miro can command Anbu ninjas with his own warrant, which is a right only the Hokage has. This situation cannot happen again. Uchiha Kusunoki does not want his every move to be controlled by the Senju. As for the final candidate for the position of Assistant Hokage, I've decided to appoint you, Narashikeon. Narashikeon, who had been recording Uchiha Kusunoki's orders, was stunned by this unexpected opportunity. Me, Hokage-sama, are you serious? Narashikeon's eyes widened. Over the years, I know Shikacho had always operated in a well-behaved manner within Konoha, never interfering with the core power of Konoha. Senju Tobirama was a political strong man, wielding power of all stripes and becoming accustomed to the life of a hard-working emperor. Uchiha Kusunoki didn't want to be a hard-working emperor. Of course I'm serious, Narashikeon. I have high hopes for you. I'm aware of your family's talents, and the daily management of Konoha still requires the help of your 3 clans. Me, Narashikeon blushed, touched by Uchiha Kusunoki's sudden esteem. Rest assured, Hokage-sama. The Aino, Shika, and Jo clans will dedicate themselves to Konoha. Actions speak louder than words. Prove it to me. I won't be wrong, Uchiha Kusunoki said to Narashikeon with a smile. Each of the Aino, Shika, and Jo clans will assign elite members to serve as teachers at the Ninja Academy, and they will also select children from core clans to attend. Narashikeon was very tactful, demonstrating his loyalty directly through his actions. Thank you for your hard work. After a busy day, Uchiha Kusunoki finally finished all the documents he needed to process today. Nearing evening, Uchiha Kusunoki finished dinner outside and went to the secret room in the Uchiha clan's territory. This was a key secret room known only to the Uchiha clan leader. Storing the clan's core documents, including the 2 jutsu of Izanagi and Izanami. However, he wasn't here to learn ninjutsu today. Inside the secret room, 2 death row prisoners lay bound and lying on the ground, where a special marking was drawn. Uchiha knocked one of them unconscious and threw him into a compartment, then used the impure world reincarnation on the remaining death row prisoners. Resurrection, my Hoshirama, Uchiha shouted. Chapter 53, Hoshirama Madara is still unwilling to forgive me? Uchiha Kusunoki quickly formed hand seals, and a flash of white light appeared on the condemned prisoner before him. The prisoner wailed in agony, transforming into the impure world reincarnation. Senju Hoshirama's face appeared within. Senju Hoshirama, come, Uchiha Kusunoki smiled with joy. Apparently the spell had succeeded. To ensure no mishaps, Uchiha Kusunoki now employed Senju Tobirama's version of the impure world reincarnation technique, using ordinary prisoners as sacrifices, not even ninjas. Senju Tobirama was currently weak, and control over the impure world reincarnation was firmly in Uchiha Kusunoki's hands. Clad in lacquered red Warring State Sierra armor, Senju Tobirama slowly opened his eyes. Is this the Pure Land? Senju Tobirama glanced around. The small, dark room was shrouded in darkness, only by a few bonfires. It seems the Pure Land is quite nice, that's, seeing Uchiha Kusunoki, clad in the Hokage's divine robes, Tobirama's expression was filled with surprise. He hadn't expected to see Konoha's Hokage in the Pure Land. Fellow villagers meeting, tears welled up in their eyes. How many generations of Hokage of Konoha have you been? Where's Tobirama? You died so young? What a shame. How is Konoha now? Tobirama Senju quickly approached Uchiha Kusunoki, chattering non-stop, wanting to know what had become of Konoha since his death. As the Shodaime, the founder of Konoha, Konoha was like his own child to Tobirama Senju. No, more important than his own children. He had said it himself, no matter if it's my friends, my brothers, or even my children, if they dare to oppose the village, I will never let them go. In a sense, Tobirama Senju is even more paranoid than Uchiha Madara Uchiha. Shodaime-sama, you're too excited. Tobirama Senju peppered him with questions, his mouth chattering non-stop. I'm the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, Uchiha Kusunoki. Uchiha Kusunoki turned his back to Tobirama Senju, pointed at the word Sandaime Hokage behind him, and briefly introduced himself. Uchiha. A surprised expression appeared on Senju Tobirama's face. The second Hokage passed the title to his younger brother, Senju Tobirama. Senju Tobirama was well aware of Tobirama's attitude towards the Uchiha clan. He couldn't say it was good, but only that it was very bad. Tobirama actually passed the position of the third Hokage to an Uchiha? This really surprised Senju Tobirama. It was just a pity that the third Hokage of the Uchiha clan died at such a young age. Senju Tobirama had automatically imagined in his mind that the Uchiha clan had put aside their family differences and completely integrated into Konoha. Otherwise, Tobirama would definitely not pass the third Hokage to the Uchiha clan. If Madara knew all this, he would probably be relieved. Oh, by the way, Madara died before me, so wouldn't I be able to see Madara again? Senju Tobirama instinctively thought of Uchiha Madara again, the man who had been entangled with him all his life, the man he loved and hated. Wait a minute. Uchiha-nan is an Uchiha? Could it be that Madara asked Uchiha-nan to pick him up to meet him? Joy, excitement, guilt, all kinds of emotions instantly filled Senju Tobirama's heart. As Madara's best friend, he was the one who killed Madara with his own hands, and he attacked him from behind. Senju Tobirama really wanted to say sorry to Madara, the pain in my heart is because of you. Although Senju Tobirama would still choose to kill Uchiha Madara if he were given another chance to choose again, if time could be turned back, Senju Tobirama would do everything he could to win back Uchiha Madara's heart and let Madara stay in Konoha to build Konoha together. If all else fails, let Madara stab him once, twice or 3 times. Senju Tobirama was full of guilt, but he did not regret it. He just wanted to say sorry to Uchiha Madara in person. All this was for Konoha. How I longed to return to that summer of my childhood, at dusk, carefree, skipping stones with Madara in the river, competing in peeing. Countless fond memories suddenly flooded my mind, and Tobirama Senju couldn't wait to see Uchiha Madara again. Did Madara ask you to take me to see him, huh? Uchiha-nan was stunned. Had he mentioned Uchiha Madara? Uchiha-nan noticed that Tobirama Senju had been distracted for a few seconds, thinking he was shocked that an Uchiha had become Hokage. How could he have thought of Uchiha Madara? Is it Madara who didn't want to see me? Tobirama Senju's face was filled with anxiety, thinking that Uchiha Madara didn't want to forgive him. He had sincerely wanted to be Madara's brother, but things were unpredictable. Eventually, it became a matter of course, and the two of them fell out, eventually facing each other in a life and death battle. But I can't blame myself alone, Madara. You were the one who started it. Having such a large pet making trouble in the house would bring disaster to Konoha. Please, Sandaime, for the sake of my senior, please take me to see Madara. I want to apologize to him in person. Just meeting him will be enough. Uchiha-nan didn't know what was going on in Senju Tobirama's mind. Tears already appeared in Senju Tobirama's eyes. It was such a touching feeling, But it was a brotherhood, gay friendship. You care so much about Uchiha Madara, doesn't Uzumaki Miro have any opinion? Uchiha Non didn't understand this kind of feeling, nor did he want to understand it. He got along quite well with the two sisters Feng and Ling. Sandame, please say something, can you take me to see Madara? If not, I'll kneel down for you. Is this the kind of personality he has? Uchiha Nanbi was startled and hurriedly supported Senju Hashirama. All his prepared thoughts had been thrown out the window. He'd thought that by limiting Senju Hashirama's power, everything tonight would be under his control. Now, he was somewhat under control, though he'd veered off in a strange direction. He didn't know what was going on in the Shadame's mind. Uchiha Nanbi quickly supported Senju Hashirama, saying, Shadame-sama, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even know Uchiha Madara, huh? Didn't Madara send you here? Surprise crossed Senju Hashirama's eyes, followed by a thick wave of embarrassment, and the atmosphere froze for a moment. Ho-ha-ho-ha, that's a bit embarrassing. I'm sorry to have embarrassed you, Sandame. The Shadame seemed adept at such awkward moments, letting out a self-deprecating chuckle that rekindled the mood. Sandame, how did you die? Senju Hashirama decided to find a topic to talk about. Otherwise, the Sandame would definitely think he was a fool. He couldn't let his junior look down on him. Sagame-sama, I'm alive and well. I eat well every day, I'm in great health, and I have two beautiful wives at home. Now it was Uchiha Kusunoki's turn to frown. Ow! Ha-ha-ha-ha. Senju Hashirama rubbed his head and laughed foolishly again. Chapter 54 I recognize you. Ah-ha-ha-ha-ha. Sorry, I misunderstood the situation. Hashirama Senju patted his head and apologized to Uchiha Kusunoki. So, Sandame, is Konoha facing some unsolvable crisis? Hashirama Senju's expression grew serious. For the living Sandame Hokage to bother disturbing the soul of a dead man like him, Konoha must have encountered a catastrophic disaster. Hashirama Senju assessed his own condition. It was extremely poor. He felt like a mountain was carrying his back. Fighting the enemy, he would struggle to even perform wood release, let alone a powerful move like the True Thousand Hands. But if it was for Konoha, he would fight with all his might, no matter how difficult it was. No, Konoha is relatively stable right now. Konoha right now, Uchiha Kusunoki recounted Konoha's recent situation. The death of Tobirama Senju is probably Konoha's most dangerous period in recent times. There was a high possibility of internal strife, but with Uchiha Kusunoki's ascension, that situation was unlikely. Did Tobirama also sacrifice himself for Konoha? Mentioning Tobirama's sacrifice, Hashirama's expression darkened with sadness. His brother, after all, had died for Konoha. Hashirama knew Tobirama's contributions to Konoha were no less than his own. He was a hands-off manager, leaving almost all of Konoha Village's affairs to his brother. Alice, it was all to protect Konoha. Tobirama's spirit in heaven will not regret his choice, Hashirama sighed softly. Having experienced countless battles during the Warring States period, he was accustomed to the deaths of loved ones in war, which had driven him to establish Konoha. Alice, then why did you summon me? Hashirama finally remembered the question. Konoha was in vain, so why bother disturbing the spirit of a dead man? Lord Tobirama was attacked and killed during the negotiations. The guards who were supposed to protect the Hokage fled back to Konoha. One of them claimed to have earned Tobirama's approval and would become the future Sandame Hokage. However, the Konoha ninja clan didn't approve of him. Ultimately, my character earned their approval, and they elected me Hokage. I'm just an ordinary Uchiha ninja. What difference does the Hokage have to me? Since everyone has entrusted the position of Hokage to me, I will dedicate myself to Konoha. Uchiha Kusunoki recounted his story of becoming Hokage with a high voice, albeit with a slight touch of artistic embellishment. After all, martial virtue is also virtue. Uchiha Kusunoki, clad in the Hokage's sacred robes, spoke with a righteous tone, bearing the air of a man ready to risk his life for Konoha. This left Hashirama Senju with no doubts. Unlike Tobirama Senju, who harbored racial prejudice against the Uchiha, Hashirama Senju actually had a favorable impression of them, perhaps influenced by his Madara Uchiha influence. Uchiha Madara was born into the Uchiha clan, so he loved the family and loved everyone in it. How much worse could an Uchiha possibly be? They were simply blinded by the fate of their clan's mutual hatred. Shadame-sama, I know your original intention in founding Konoha was to bridge the divide between the ninja clans, particularly between the Uchiha and Senju clans, the so-called Will of Fire. Wherever Konoha dances, the fire also lives on. This is the way of the ninja that I have grasped. Today, the junior Hokage has the audacity to disturb your soul's rest. But only to remind you that Konoha's will of fire has a successor. I hope you will recognize me. Uchiha Kusunoki's righteous words stirred Senju Hashirama's heart. His efforts had paid off. Finally, an Uchiha had emerged who transcended the divisions of his clan, and, because of his virtuous character, had earned the recognition of the people of Konoha, becoming Hokage. This was truly a cause for celebration. A gratified smile crossed Senju Hashirama's face. His original purpose in establishing Konoha was to bridge the divide between the ninja clans, foster mutual tolerance and understanding, and ultimately achieve peace in the ninja world. The seeds he sowed back then finally bore fruit today. Congratulations, Sandame, I recognize you. As Hashirama uttered these words, the system chimed. Recognition has been obtained from Hashirama Senju. Long-term mission, recognition from the predecessors. The host must earn the sincere approval of successive Hokages. Completion progress, 1/2. The mission interface appeared before Uchiha Nan's eyes. The progress bar was already halfway completed, meaning the mission was halfway complete. Nice. Uchiha Nan was secretly delighted. Everything was going well. I really wish Madara knew all this. If he could see you, he wouldn't have left Konoha. Hashirama's tone was filled with a sense of loss. If Madara could have seen this day, he wouldn't have given up on their shared ideals. The Shadame-sama and Uchiha Madara have a very good relationship, Uchiha Nan said, a little speechless. Shouldn't you praise yourself a little more at this moment? Why did the conversation just start? If there is an afterlife, and Madara and I weren't born interposing ninja clans, we would probably be good brothers, Senju Hashirama said with regret. He was born into the Senju clan, and Uchiha Madara was born into the Uchiha clan. The two families were born into a feud. The source of this hatred is unknown. They've been fighting and killing each other for countless generations. Anyway, his father had warned him since he was born. The other side of the ninja world is the enemy, and the enemy's surname is Uchiha. Anyone with the surname Uchiha is to be hunted down and killed, regardless of gender, age or age. This has almost become the ancestral precept of the Senju clan. Of course, the same goes for the Uchiha. When Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama first met, they concealed their surnames from each other, fearing the other might be an Uchiha or Senju, and suddenly strike back. The relationship between the Uchiha and Senju was strained at the time. I really wish I could see Madara again. I want to tell him I'm truly sorry. Ultimately, I'm the one who let him down. My brother Tobirama killed his brother Izuna, and in the end, I killed Madara myself. Hashirama's tone was filled with apology, and Uchiha Nan nodded subconsciously. Hashirama was right. The two Uchiha brothers had been ensnared by Hashirama and Tobirama. That Madara must still be holding a grudge against me. I've been dead for so long, and he never came to see me. He really does hold a grudge. I remember those days when we ran happily together in the sunset. It was clearly Madara who started it. Hashirama, upon mentioning Uchiha Madara, was like a chatterbox, unable to stop. It's been a long time since I asked for a monthly ticket. Please give me a monthly ticket. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Resurrection, My Tobirama. Let me tell you, Madara has a bad habit. If someone's standing behind him, he can't pee. He's not even as good at skipping stones as I am, and his smile is terrifying. It scares the children in the village to tears. Ha ha ha. The Shadame seemed to have not talked about Uchiha Madara in ages, and he talked more and more. He recounted stories of his and Madara's childhood, and Uchiha Kusunoki listened with great interest. The stories shown in the anime are just the tip of the iceberg of their legendary lives. Stories told in person are more interesting. Uchiha Kusunoki also learned a little-known story about Uchiha Madara. For example, they went to a restaurant together, but each thought the other was treating and didn't bring any money. The owner caught them, thinking they were eating for free, and detained them, making them wash dishes all day to pay off their debt. And Uchiha Madara actually had a first love. This was big news. Uchiha Nan, eager to gossip about a figure like Uchiha Madara, approached Hashirama Senju, asking him to elaborate. Which girl had truly stirred Madara's heart? Hashirama didn't know. That day, Madara quietly hinted that he was going to confess his love, mocking him for being single and destined for a lifetime of loneliness. The result was predictable. The girl told Madara that she only considered him a brother, and that this troubled her. When his confession failed, Madara was depressed for a long time. It was only me who helped him through the heartbreak. Ha 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 ha. Hashirama Senju seemed to recall Uchiha Madara's past dejection over love and began to laugh. It's certainly sad when a best friend fails to confess, but if it succeeds, he's the one who's saddened. Being ridiculed as a single man is a blessing in disguise. I remember when I married Mito, Madara secretly met me. His face was full of resentment, and he seemed very unconvinced. However, he still gave me a gift of money. I heard he saved it for a month. Senju Hashirama continued, reminiscing about everything about him and Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Mina listened quietly at the side, occasionally interjecting a word or two. Madara would most likely make a fool of himself when he met Hashirama, and Uchiha Mina was very interested in these embarrassing things. Senju Hashirama was also happy to satisfy the curiosity of his juniors and reveal some embarrassing stories about Madara in his youth. This went on for an hour or two. Senju Hashirama was still not satisfied and told every embarrassing story that Uchiha Mina could tell, which made Uchiha Mina exclaim in satisfaction. Well, it's almost time for me to return to the Pure Land. Thank you, Sanjay. I had a wonderful evening. Remember to say hello to Mito for me. You've remembered Uzumaki Mito now. I thought you'd forgotten your wife. Uchiha nodded, but couldn't help but grumble inwardly. And Momoka, Tsunade, by the way, you must remind Tsunade to stop gambling. If she keeps on gambling, she'll definitely never get married. A gambler will never die. You must remind her of this. At this point, Senju Hashirama couldn't help but regret why he had bothered to teach Tsunade how to throw the dice. Tsunade seemed to have a natural talent for gambling, and she understood all the rules after just one explanation. But her skills and luck were even worse than his, and she was losing every time she gambled. Only Mito could contain the frenzy she felt when losing money. It's hard to imagine which unfortunate person would fall for Tsunade. As Tsunade's grandfather, Hashirama couldn't help but offer a moment of silence for Tsunade's future husband. He hoped his wife wouldn't go bankrupt because of her gambling. Uchiha Kusunoki nodded in agreement, agreeing that gamblers don't die a good death. In the future, Tsunade would likely have squandered the family fortune. That was a sign of her immense strength, otherwise she'd have been sold into a brothel to pay off her debts. Konoha is in your hands, Sandame. Hashirama Senju looked at Uchiha Kusunoki expectantly. After a brief exchange, he had a favorable impression of Uchiha Kusunoki, believing he would make an excellent Hokage. Don't worry, Shadame-sama. Konoha will become even stronger in my hands. Uchiha Kusunoki said goodbye and severed Hashirama's consciousness, but he didn't cancel the impure world reincarnation technique. He had another idea he wanted to test. Long-term mission, defeat Hashirama Senju head-on. Uchiha looked at the long-term mission, defeat Hashirama Senju head-on. In his current state, Hashirama Senju is as weak as a Jinan. Shadame, attack me with all your might, Uchiha commanded Hashirama Senju, who rushed towards him. In an instant, he was reduced to ash by Nan's lightning release, then resurrected from the ashes. However, Uchiha didn't hear the system prompt indicating the mission was complete. It seemed this tricky method wouldn't work. He would probably need to be resurrected through the impure world reincarnation to a strength closest to Hashirama's former state, and then defeat him to complete the long-term mission. Uchiha sighed, but wasn't too discouraged. He hadn't had high hopes for this bug-fixing method. It was just an experiment. Failure was failure, nothing to regret. Success would be a huge win. There really wasn't a single loophole left. Damn system, inhumane. Uchiha cursed the system, turned, and walked towards the small compartment, dragging the unconscious condemned prisoner out. The previous difficulty facing Senju Hashirama was just an appetizer, now the main course began. Uchiha adjusted his mindset and planned to resurrect Senju Tobirama through the impure world reincarnation. This was a tough nut to crack. He was the kind of guy who would fight Uchiha to death at the slightest disagreement. He had to be cautious and not let his guard down. Uchiha carefully examined the spells inscribed on the ground, ensuring there would be no accidents. He had to maintain firm control over the reincarnated Senju Tobirama. Uchiha also checked the seals on the room. The Uchiha clan, always meticulous about the secret chamber containing confidential documents, employed every possible sealing technique, including special seals designed to protect against space-time ninjutsu. Uchiha Non suspected that this was aimed at Senju Tobirama, fearing that he might drain his family's wealth without warning. After everything was ready, Uchiha Non made hand seals and performed the impure world reincarnation. The death row prisoner, who was still in a coma, passed away peacefully without feeling too much pain and turned into a pile of filth. Resurrection, my Tobirama, Uchiha Non shouted, and Senju Tobirama emerged from the pile of filth. Chapter 56 Senju Tobirama, I must escape. Where is this place? Memories of death suddenly flooded back. To protect Sarutobi, Hiruzen and the others, he had single-handedly led off Kinkaku and Jinkaku's elite ninja team. Kinkaku and Jinkaku were truly perverted, capable of briefly activating the Nine Tails chakra mode. Otherwise, perhaps he could. Senju Tobirama felt a pang of regret. He knew full well he was dead. But now, where was he? This state of his was impure world reincarnation. As the founder of the impure world reincarnation, he was naturally familiar with it, and it took him only a moment to realize his current state. He needed to first understand the situation. The usually cautious Senju Tobirama began to survey his surroundings. Looking up, he saw Uchiha Kusunoki, clad in the Hokage's divine robes, a smile plastered across his face, staring at him. Senju Tobirama's eyes gleamed as he stared intently at Uchiha Kusunoki, his heart swirling with emotion, his expression darkening. How could it be? How could the Hokage's divine robes be worn by Uchiha Kusunoki? Senju Tobirama was deeply impressed by Uchiha Kusunoki. He was an Uchiha like Uchiha Kagami. Like Uchiha Kagami, he had a vision that transcended the boundaries of his clan and was devoted to Konoha. For this reason, Senju Tobirama even offered Uchiha Kusunoki an olive branch, offering to accept him as his disciple. Hello, Second Hokage, Uchiha Kusunoki greeted Senju Tobirama, but his kindness went unreciprocated. You born evil Uchiha brat. I will execute you right here. How dare you use such ninjutsu to taint my soul? Senju Tobirama's hands formed hand seals at incredible speed, intending a killing blow. Uchiha Kusunoki gave a helpless smile and quickly formed hand seals with one hand. Senju Tobirama immediately stopped all movement, freezing in place. Master Tobirama, why bother? I came to meet you with good intentions. Senju Tobirama's body lost control, the murderous intent in his eyes undisguised. If looks could kill, Uchiha Kusunoki would have been ripped to pieces by him. Shut up, do you think I can't see it? Everything you've done before was a facade. I never imagined I'd be pecked in the eye by an eagle after playing with it my whole life. Senju Tobirama felt a surge of resentment. Why hadn't he seen through Uchiha Kusunoki's disguise? He thought he saw through loyalty and treachery, understood the hearts of the Uchiha people, and could completely control them. But he'd been so careless. Master Tobirama, you're wronging me. I'm not pretending. I'm wholeheartedly devoted to Konoha. Uchiha Kusunoki's smile widened, revealing an innocence as pure as Ding Zhen's. But in Senju Tobirama's eyes, such an innocent smile was sinister. Senju Tobirama sensed a deep malice and a smug mockery in Uchiha Kusunoki's smile. To Senju Tobirama, this was a direct mockery. Traitor, evil thief, Senju Tobirama felt a chill run down his spine. An Uchiha, disguised for years, had even deceived him. What twisted and evil soul lay beneath this hypocritical facade? Such a terrifying monster had appeared within the Uchiha clan. Was it fate that would destroy Konoha? As his thoughts continued, Senju Tobirama suddenly remembered Sarutobi, Hiruzen and the others. Uchiha Minami was wearing the Hokage's divine robe. He had clearly already passed the title of Sandaime Hokage to Sarutobi Hiruzen. A sinister thought welled up in Senju Tobirama's mind. Senju Tobirama looked at Uchiha Minami and asked through gritted teeth, "Where's Hiruzen? What did you do to him?" Senju Tobirama grew increasingly agitated, his uneasiness growing stronger. He wished he could rip Uchiha Minami's mouth open, desperately wanting to know what had happened to Konoha since his death. How could it be possible? How could Uchiha Minami become Hokage? Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't defeat Uchiha Kusunoki, there was still Uzumaki Mito. Mito knew what she felt for the Uchiha clan, and she wouldn't let an Uchiha become Hokage. According to her predictions and instructions, Sarutobi Hiruzen should have found Uzumaki Mito immediately, and Uzumaki Mito would help Sarutobi Hiruzen become the third Hokage of Konoha. Could it be that Mito had also met with misfortune? Senju Tobirama no longer dared to speculate. Uzumaki Mito was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and even he wasn't completely sure he could defeat her. Main Gekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Kusunoki had activated the main Gekyo Sharingan. Senju Tobirama felt he had grasped the truth, and only the main Decay of Sharingan could defeat Uzumaki Mido, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Madman. Senju Tobirama added another label to Uchiha Kusunoki. Every Uchiha who activated a main Decay of Sharingan was a madman. Crazy doesn't mean insane, but rather that an Uchiha who has awakened the main Decay of Sharingan must have experienced profoundly dark times, leading to a mindset that differs from that of ordinary people and leads to extreme paranoia in certain areas. Senju Tobirama, a profound Uchiha scholar, is well aware of this. The thought of an Uchiha, incredibly skilled in disguise, powerful, and mentally insane, becoming Hokage has already left Senju Tobirama practically despairing. Konoha is doomed. Uchiha Kusunoki will surely drag it into an unspeakable abyss, even plunging the entire ninja world into chaos. No. Senju Tobirama will never allow this to happen. His elder brother, through countless hardships, founded Konoha, and he has toiled day and night to build it. Their lifelong dedication must not be in vain. Are you talking about Sarutobi Hiruzen, dead? Uchiha Kusunoki calmly answered Senju Tobirama's question. As expected. A flicker of sadness flashed through Senju Tobirama's heart. Although he had already guessed Sarutobi Hiruzen's fate, he couldn't help but feel heartbroken upon hearing the news of his death. He had placed high hopes on Sarutobi Hiruzen, otherwise he wouldn't have passed the throne of the third Hokage to him. But now was no time to be sad. He had more important things to do: escape. He had to escape. Then he would find an opportunity to kill Uchiha Kusunoki and choose a new Hokage for Konoha, atone for his mistakes, and put everything back on track. Finally, he would completely settle accounts with the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan was truly terrifying. He had been cautious and wary of the Uchiha clan, but he still neglected it, allowing a terrifying member like Uchiha Kusunoki to appear in the Uchiha clan. Calm down. Senju Tobirama forced himself to calm down. He needed to lie low and wait until Uchiha Kusunoki had a chance to relax. He felt like a fish on the chopping block, at the mercy of others, with no room for resistance. Please vote, please read again. Reading again means turning to the last page and seeing the rankings. Hehe. Chapter 57, Remarks on the Release. The situation was very sudden. I found out yesterday that I had advanced to the second round, and I was planning to put it on the shelves after receiving the second round of recommendations, but the editor had already sent the notice of putting it on the shelves directly to my backstage, so I had to put it on the shelves. The performance of this book is okay, not bad, and I would like to first thank all the readers for their support. The paid chapters should be released at 12 noon tomorrow. Since you have been enjoying it for free for so long, I hope you can continue to support me. I will release 4 chapters tomorrow, and I am still typing. I was caught off guard. I am begging for the first order. By the way, I also want to promote the work of a real boss of mine, which is already a masterpiece. Although it seems to be a mismatch, it is still promoted. He keeps saying that I have the qualities of a masterpiece. He is probably comforting me. Ha ha ha. I Killed in the World of Film and Television is a very good-looking article. There is also a work by another friend of mine, which is the same theme as mine. The quality is guaranteed, and you can watch it with confidence. Naruto, starting with Fugaku, I teach my son to become stronger. The link is at the back. Chapter 58, Tobirama, why did you choose Sarutobi Hiruzen? Calm down. Senju Tobirama took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Facing Uchiha Kusunoki, a member of the Uchiha clan, Senju Tobirama's incredibly intelligent mind began to race. He was now extremely weak, his strength reduced to a fraction of what it once was. Forget about performing the Flying Thunder God technique, even sensing spatial fluctuations was difficult. Chakra flow was elusive, and he couldn't activate any of the various forbidden techniques. Thinking he could defeat Uchiha Kusunoki on his own was sheer wishful thinking. He needed help and more intelligence. Where's Mido? What did you do to Mido? Mido won't sit idly by and watch you kill Sarutobi Hiruzen, Senju Tobirama's cold voice echoed, trying to confirm information about Mido Uzumaki. If Uchiha Kusunoki had also killed Mido, then eliminating him would be a far cry from impossible. Tobirama-sama, is this how you see me? Do you think I would harm Mido-sama? Uchiha-nan showed an innocent expression. He had not done anything excessive to Uzumaki Mido. Of course, the idea of slapping Uzumaki Mido in the face had to be ruled out first. I swear to God, Uchiha-nan really had no intention of killing Uzumaki Mido. If he really killed Uzumaki Mido, the Senju clan would most likely fight to the death with him, and internal strife would happen immediately. Huh? Even an evil Uchiha brat like you wouldn't have the guts to do that. Senju Tobirama's expression became a little more relaxed. He was really afraid that Uzumaki Mito would also be killed by Uchiha Non, although the possibility was very low. But considering that the person in front of him was an Uchiha, he would have to worry. The brain circuits of Uchiha were different from those of normal people, and Uchiha Non could not be viewed with the thinking of normal people. And Lady Miro didn't stop me from killing Sarutobi Hiruzen. She was watching from the side at the time. Uchiha Non's next words made Senju Tobirama change color. Evil brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Matuto will not sit idly by and watch you kill the third Hokage that I chose, Senju Tobirama immediately shouted. He had enough trust in his sister-in-law Uzumaki Mito. He believed that Uzumaki Mito would help Sarutobi Hiruzen become the third Hokage. If something unexpected happened, there was only one possibility, that is, Uchiha Non in front of him was interfering. It is definitely you who is interfering in Konoha. You are a troublemaker in Konoha. Mito will not go against my will. Senju Tobirama was absolutely confident about this. Lord Tobirama, your metaphor is not good. I am a troublemaker, so what are the other people in Konoha? Uchiha Non's simple complaint made Senju Tobirama's face black in an instant. Shut up, you actually compared Konoha to such a disgusting thing. That evil Uchiha brat was truly annoying. I was just using him as an example, but Uchiha Non had simply climbed the ladder, calling the life's work of himself and his elder brother worthless. Stop talking nonsense here, tell me everything. What did you do to Mito? She had to watch Hiruzen being killed by you. Senju Tobirama didn't want to waste time arguing with Uchiha Non on this issue. He desperately wanted to know what Uchiha Non had done to cause Uzumaki Mito to change her mind and disobey his will. I didn't do anything. Uchiha Non spread his hands, indicating that he didn't want to take the blame. Uchiha Non could sense Uzumaki Mito's attitude. Although he superficially supported Sarutobi Hiruzen to become the third Hokage, he was actually just using him as a pawn to test him. Impossible. Senju Tobirama's emotions wavered, and his newly regained sanity began to lose control. Why is it impossible? Are you so optimistic about Sarutobi Hiruzen, and are you so sure that Uzumaki Mito will support Sarutobi Hiruzen to become Hokage? Don't forget, Mito-sama has a son, and Momoyama Senju's strength and ability are no worse than Hiruzen Sarutobi, Uchiha Non asked back. If you think about it carefully, you will know who Mito Uzumaki will help as a mother. Mito won't be so narrow-minded. At this point, Tobirama Senju was a little unconfident. If it involves Momoyama Senju, it seems reasonable for Mito not to support Hiruzen Sarutobi. Sir Tobirama, actually, I am also very curious. Why didn't you choose Momoyama Senju to be Hokage, but chose Sarutobi Hiruzen instead? If you choose Momoyama Senju, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for me to become Hokage. Maybe I have to launch a coup to take the position of the third Hokage from Momoyama Senju. Uchiha Non was a little confused. He really couldn't figure out what Senju Tobirama was thinking. The anime could be attributed to the setting of the old thief Kishimoto. But for Uchiha Non, everything in this Naruto world is real. They are all living people with their own thoughts. If Senju Tobirama really chose Senju Momoyama as Hokage on the battlefield, then Senju Momoyama would not have the shortcomings of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen left the Hokage behind and escaped, neglecting his duties as the Hokage's bodyguard. This big black spot cannot be washed away at all. Not to mention Senju Momoyama's origin. He came from the Senju clan and was the young patriarch of the Senju clan. He had a strong family power and the political prestige that the Senju clan had accumulated for 2 generations. As long as Senju Tobirama left a will and asked Sarutobi Hiruzen to take the message back and let Senju Momoyama become the 3rd generation Hokage, then Senju Momoyama's succession to the Hokage would be simply impeccable and legitimate, and there would be no place for attack. If Uchiha Kusunoki wants to become Hokage, there is only one way, which is a coup d'état. The difficulty he will face will increase several times. A coup d'état is a rebellion. Senju Momoyama can directly order the Anbu and other ninja clans of Konoha to encircle the Uchiha clan if he succeeds to the throne of Hokage. It is wishful thinking to want to defeat Konoha with the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Kusunoki will not do such a stupid thing. He will probably continue to lie dormant and find an opportunity to kill Senju Momoyama, and then become Hokage in a natural way. But none of this happened. The successor of the 3rd Hokage chosen by Senju Tobirama is Sarutobi Hiruzen. Humph, what do you know, you evil brat? I'm doing all this for Konoha? For the future of Konoha? Guys like you won't understand. Senju Tobirama directly mocked Uchiha Non's question. His attitude was really bad. But Uchiha Non was not angry. The stereotype of Senju Tobirama in his mind had raised Uchiha Non's patience by more than one level. A few sarcastic words were already considered light. If it weren't for the control of the impure world reincarnation, Senju Tobirama would have started to fight with him. Chapter 59, Illusion? When? Sir Tobirama, just say what you want to say. There's no need to beat around the bush. I think you simply want to scold me. Uchiha Kusunoki waved his hand, maintaining his elegant smile, oblivious to Senju Tobirama's taunting. He had successfully ascended to Hokage, while Senju Tobirama had become his prisoner, manipulated by his own impure reincarnation. Uchiha Kusunoki, however, considered himself the victor. The barking of the defeated dog was merely the groaning of the defeated. His impotent rage was even more ridiculous. HMPH, such a rude brat, don't you even know how to say please when asking for advice from an elder? Senju Tobirama observed Uchiha Kusunoki's smile, feeling even more that he was secretly mocking him. He hadn't encountered such undisguised rudeness in a long time. Whether in the Senju clan or since becoming Hokage, everyone who met him was always respectful. Truly a tiger in plain sight being bullied by a dog, to be mocked right in the face by a mere Uchiha. What a humiliation. Alright, please, Lord Tobirama, clear up the confusion of a junior like me, Uchiha Kusunoki said somewhat helplessly. Senju Tobirama truly refused to give in to even the slightest bit of rhetoric. Since you're asking so sincerely, I'll mercifully tell you, Senju Tobirama felt a certain comfort in Uchiha Kusunoki's words of submission. Although he knew the boy was feigning, he didn't take it too seriously. It's fair to say the IQ spirit never fades. Do you know the origins of Konoha? Senju Tobirama asked, looking at Uchiha Kusunoki. Of course I do. Back then, the Shadame-sama and Uchiha Madara-sama fought a battle, with no clear winner. In the end, the Shadame-sama was unable to defeat Uchiha Madara-sama, so he had to use a kunai to force Uchiha Madara-sama. He begged Uchiha Madara-sama to reconcile the Uchiha and Senju clans and jointly establish Konoha. Otherwise, the Shadame-sama would commit suicide, directly in front of Uchiha Madara-sama. Later, Uchiha Madara-sama relented and agreed, and Konoha was born. Uchiha Non spoke with certainty. Except for the part in the middle where Hashirama Senju and Uchiha Madara were tied, everything else was true. At the beginning, Hashirama Senju was indeed slightly stronger than Uchiha Madara, but Uchiha Non would not let his ancestor down. It is impossible to say that Uchiha Madara was beaten down by Hashirama Senju and almost lost his life. A draw must be a draw. Even if Hashirama Senju came, Uchiha Non would definitely say so. You are talking nonsense. Who told you that? That's nonsense. It is obvious that Uchiha Madara was completely beaten down by his elder brother, but his elder brother was kind-hearted and could not bear to hurt Uchiha Madara's life, so he was willing to spare Uchiha Madara and give him a chance to live. What do you mean by using a kunai to force Uchiha Madara to commit suicide, and then committing suicide if he still refuses to agree? How can my elder brother be so despicable? Uchiha Non was talking incessantly there, and the more he talked, the angrier Senju Tobirama became, and his originally calm mood was immediately broken. Until Uchiha Non talked about the part where Senju Hashirama used a kunai to force Uchiha Madara to choose reconciliation and jointly create Konoha, Senju Tobirama couldn't hold it anymore. What the hell are you talking about? Uchiha Madara, you bastard. You actually spread this matter out. And it's fucking a draw. You really know how to flatter yourself. He was obviously beaten into a puddle of mud by his elder brother Hashirama, lying on the ground and unable to get up. It was because his elder brother was kind-hearted and had a bloody fate with Uchiha Madara, so he couldn't bear to kill Uchiha Madara. Otherwise, he would have taken advantage of Uchiha Madara's inability to do well and sent him to see his damn brother Uchiha Izuna with a kunai. He is really an evil Uchiha, and his ability to confuse right and wrong is really outrageous. Senju Tobirama took note of the Uchiha clan again in his heart, and the reasons for settling accounts with the Uchiha clan were increased. As for the fact that Hashirama Senju was indeed going to stab him with a kunai, and wanted to use his own life to exchange for Uchiha Madara's forgiveness that Tobirama killed Uchiha Madara's brother Izuna, Senju Tobirama simply ignored it. He and Uchiha Izuna fought on the battlefield, it was fair, just and open, it was a proper single kill. Do you know what a single kill is? He single-handedly killed an Uchiha who had opened the main Gekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Madara, are you shameless? You even have the nerve to bring up such a thing in that situation. Senju Tobirama cursed Uchiha Madara over and over in his heart, and madly refuted Uchiha Nan's truth. Uchiha Nan listened patiently to Senju Tobirama's rebuttal, then smiled and said, "Are you anxious?" Uchiha Nan's face was full of sarcasm. "I'm anxious, UMLGB Uchiha Nan." A simple word of anxiety broke Senju Tobirama's defense again. He had never hated an Uchiha so much. Even the two brothers Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Izuna had not made Senju Tobirama so disgusted. Okay, calm down, we are all people of status, all Hokage of Konoha. How can you just curse people as soon as you open your mouth? The world is so beautiful, but you are so irritable, Tobirama. This is not good, not good. Uchiha Nan saw that Senju Tobirama's cursing became more and more unpleasant, and he had no calm and wise demeanor as usual, so he stepped forward to persuade him. If Tobirama continued to curse like that, Uchiha Nan was afraid that he would not be able to help but beat Tobirama up. After all, Tobirama's curses were too ugly, and they were all, I won't bother with you, evil Uchiha brat. Senju Tobirama gasped, realizing his own loss of composure. The Uchiha brat in front of him was really powerful. With just a few words, he disturbed my mind and made me fall into irrational anger. I am the calm and wise Senju Tobirama, how could I be affected by the mind of a mere evil Uchiha brat? Sharingan. It must be the illusion of the Sharingan. Otherwise, I would not have lost my mind so easily. The danger level of Senju Tobirama to Uchiha Nan increased by one level again. He could cast an illusion on himself silently, and I didn't even notice it. It's really terrifying. Next, I must calm down. Only by being calm can I find the potential flaws of Uchiha Nan and finally escape. Let me tell you, the original intention of the establishment of Konoha was to break the family barriers between the various ninja clans, let them put aside family conflicts, tolerate and understand each other, and jointly create a peaceful environment. Senju Tobirama decided to directly tell the original intention of the establishment of Konoha, and no longer let Uchiha Nan answer, so as to prevent this evil kid from making any shocking remarks to disturb his mind. Chapter 60, Lord Tobirama, you have never considered Uchiha as a companion. Yeah, I know, go on, please get to the point. There's no need to elaborate on these clichés. Uchiha Kusunoki scratched his ears with his hands. He just needed to listen to such words. Perhaps only idealists like the Shodaime in the whole of Konoha would take them seriously. The Senju Tobirama in front of him was a disgusting and black old coin. His words were not convincing at all, especially since he was an Uchiha and belonged to the group of people who were racially discriminated against by him. Damn brat. Seeing Uchiha Kusunoki's nonchalant look, Senju Tobirama couldn't control his anger again. Kid, this is very important, Senju Tobirama spoke in a stern tone, his expression serious. Uchiha Kusunoki's expression softened slightly, and he continued, Konoha isn't the Konoha of one person, nor of one family. It belongs to everyone in Konoha, and the Senju clan has already produced 2 Hokages. There's talk within the clan that the Senju are Konoha. While my eldest brother and I were alive, we could suppress the ambitions of our clan members. But my eldest brother is dead now. When I die, if the position of the 3rd Hokage is passed to the Senju clan again, who will be able to suppress this force? Mamamama is certainly capable and qualified to be Hokage, but he chose to be named Senju. Senju Tobirama calmly stated his reasons, expressionless. Impressive. Uchiha Kusunoki immediately took a new look at Senju Tobirama. In ancient times, if a dynasty lasted for 3 generations, it essentially acquired dynastic inertia. Unless a godlike, incompetent ruler emerged, the dynasty could last for over 100 years. The same is true for the Hokage position. If Senju Tobirama had truly passed the Hokage position to Senju Momonoma, I'm afraid the next few generations of Hokage would all have the last name Senju. How ruthless. For the sake of Konoha, he even schemed against his own family, abruptly severing the Senju clan's dominance over Konoha for years, decades, or even decades. Well said, Lord Tobirama is truly selfless, but you still haven't answered my question. Why Sarutobi Hiruzen? Uchiha Nan's eyes burned as he looked at Senju Tobirama. He couldn't let such a small thing fool him. Why not Uchiha Kagami? If you could choose Sarutobi Hiruzen as Hokage, how could Uchiha Kagami be any worse than him, taking into account personal strength, family influence, personal character, and willpower? No matter how you look at it, Uchiha Kagami is the more suitable to be Hokage. The Uchiha were also the founders of Konoha. Your Senju clan has already produced 2 generations of Hokage, so it should be the Uchiha's turn. Uchiha Nan's question was so resounding that it stopped Senju Tobirama from speaking. Senju Tobirama, you are so impartial and selfless, you have calculated everything. After all, the Senju clan has produced 2 Hokage, but we Uchiha clan are still waiting eagerly for our share of the spoils. Do you really not regard the Uchiha as human beings? Do you want to destroy the whole family now that you have had enough? Senju Tobirama was speechless. His words were too beautiful, too majestic, but there was no way the Uchiha could get around this hurdle. Uchiha Kagami is indeed qualified to be Hokage. His strength and character are both excellent choices, but he just happens to be an Uchiha. But Uchiha cannot be Hokage. What kind of people are your clan? Senju Tobirama knows it all too well. Each one of them is a potential lunatic and psychopath. He was so blind that he missed you, Uchiha Nun. What if Uchiha Kagami was chosen to be the 3rd Hokage, and he opened his main Gekkai Sharingan and turned into a lunatic? A lunatic Hokage leading a group of lunatic Uchiha. Senju Tobirama must not put Konoha in such a dangerous situation. Although it has become like this now, it is a state he did not expect. Senju Tobirama cannot create such a dangerous situation with his own hands. Even if there is only a slight possibility, Senju Tobirama will not do it. You're at a loss for words, Lord Tobirama, let me speak. You've never considered the Uchiha a comrade. You've always exploited their power, wanting to use them as Konoha's watchdogs, to keep the Uchiha safe. You've even given them the pretense of a dog leash. It's nothing more than a leash. Uchiha Nan didn't give Senju Tobirama face and directly revealed his thoughts. The Uchiha Security Department held immense power, ranging from catching spies to managing Konoha's daily patrols, even possessing its own armed forces independent of the Anbu. But Senju Tobirama was clearly not a pushover. He knew the Uchiha's character all too well. In the struggle for political power, the Uchiha were no match for the Hyuga. Under his suppression and deliberate manipulation, the Uchiha had subconsciously become Konoha's police, dealing with petty thefts and even playing the role of city management. Letting the Uchiha serve as both police and city management? Anyone familiar with the daily grind of a police officer knows it's no easy task. Trivial, tedious, and boring matters torment the Uchiha daily. The Uchiha are natural warriors, incredibly proud and naturally prone to laughter. Maintaining a smile while serving the villagers is simply impossible. You expect a proud Uchiha to put on a smile for ordinary villagers? It's a joke. The Uchiha enforced the law with a brutal hand, constantly giving the villagers a cold shoulder. Sometimes, they even resort to ninjutsu to solve cases, a practice forbidden in Konoha. Konoha ninjas are forbidden from using ninjutsu against villagers. But this prohibition clearly has no effect on the Uchiha. Any villager who protests is reported to the higher authorities and brought to the security department for tea. The Uchiha never held a dominant position in the arena of power, never reaching the core of authority. Over time, they've lost the support of even the most humble. Even in times of war, the Uchiha have sacrificed countless lives for Konoha, and the villagers still rely on the Uchiha's military might for protection. In times of peace, the villagers, forgetful as they are, will soon forget the blood and lives shed by the Uchiha in their defense. The same people who later insulted and bullied Naruto, then hailed him as Konoha's hero, are the same ones. This accumulated resentment and hatred will slowly backfire on the Uchiha. Even more devastating, in the original novel, the future strength of Konoha lies in the civilian ninja. The powerful bloodline clan vanished like a passing cloud, descended from the very villagers who were routinely subjected to the Uchiha's brutal enforcement. Having offended every member of Konoha's hierarchy, the Uchiha still hopes to rise to become Hokage? Don't dream. Chapter 61, Lord Tobirama, I can't live without you. Lord Tobirama, you don't want an Uchiha to become Hokage, do you? Uchiha Nan exposed Senju Tobirama's true intentions. From the very beginning, Uchiha Nan had never held any unwarranted expectations of Senju Tobirama. He had become Hokage by earning Senju Tobirama's approval, otherwise he would have agreed to become his disciple. You're right, that's exactly what I thought, Senju Tobirama admitted frankly. Now that Uchiha Nan had laid it all out, there was no need for him to be so secretive. At the same time, the last vestiges of his underestimation of Uchiha Nan vanished. This brat was even smarter than he'd imagined. He'd seen through the Uchiha guard as a poisonous bait. In the past, Senju Tobirama had calculated that even if the Uchiha knew everything, they wouldn't give up this delicious bait. But the greater possibility is that the Uchiha clan will regard the Uchiha guard, bestowed upon them, as a symbol of honor, a private preserve belonging to the Uchiha clan, happily serving as Konoha's watchdog until its final moment. So, little brat, you've seen through all this, and have successfully foiled all my schemes, becoming the Hokage of Konoha? What are you trying to accomplish by going to all this trouble to resurrect yourself through the impure world reincarnation? You're not trying to show off your success and mock a dead man like me, are you? Senju Tobirama looked at Uchiha Kusunoki, questioning him while observing his expression. He hoped to discern his intentions and determine if he was lying. Ha ha ha, how did you know? I just wanted to see you, the deceased Nadame, looking so regretful and lost. Do you know how much fun that would be for me? Ha 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 ha. Uchiha Kusunoki laughed triumphantly. Senju Tobirama watched Uchiha Nan's arrogant grin and longed to chop him off with a flying thunder god slash. Unfortunately, control of his body now rested with Uchiha Nan, so he could only gaze at him with resentment. Did you believe it? No way? I was kidding, I'm not that bored. Uchiha Nan observed Senju Tobirama's expression. Sure enough, Senju Tobirama had nearly blushed again. It was quite amusing to play a trick on him. Senju Tobirama had put too much pressure on Uchiha Nan in the past, and now that he had the chance, he was going to make amends. That evil Uchiha brat, his personality was truly awful. Senju Tobirama mentally labeled Uchiha Nan as a wicked person once again. I came here today to tell you that you're wrong. I, Uchiha Nan, will become the greatest Hokage, surpassing both you and Senju Hashirama. Uchiha Nan's voice was filled with confidence, and Senju Tobirama looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. The Uchiha clan has always had an arrogant personality, which is normal and is an advantage for me. Uchiha Nan ignored Senju Tobirama's gaze and continued to say to Senju Tobirama, Lord Tobirama, you have been blinded by discrimination and bigotry. The Uchiha clan has already made the choice to integrate into Konoha. When Lord Uchiha Madara left Konoha, he gave the Uchiha clan the opportunity to choose. They could follow Lord Uchiha Madara to leave Konoha and start a new life. I believe that with the protection of Lord Uchiha Madara, there will still be a place for the Uchiha clan in this vast ninja world. Our clan has flourished for thousands of years, but the Uchiha clan rejected Uchiha Madara. We chose to believe in Lord Hashirama. We believe that Konoha is our home and everything we entrust to it. Since the Uchiha clan has made the choice on its own initiative, why does Lord Tobirama still treat the Uchiha clan specially and is unwilling to give the Uchiha clan even a chance to try? Isn't this a betrayal of the Shadame-sama's will of fire? Uchiha Nan stared at Senju Tobirama, who rarely avoided Uchiha Nan's gaze. Senju Tobirama could not answer this question and could only choose to remain silent. Because the fact was indeed as Uchiha Nan said, the Uchiha clan had made the first concessions and even abandoned Uchiha Madara, whose strength was comparable to that of a god. The Uchiha clan, which had already made concessions, should be trusted and respected by Konoha, rather than feared and calculated. However, all this could not move Senju Tobirama. He seemed to have an innate prejudice against the Uchiha clan, or perhaps Senju Tobirama saw through the essence of the Uchiha clan. A family that understands love the most can burst out with infinite courage to protect the people they cherish the most because of love, but can also give rise to hatred that can destroy everything because of love, hatred that is enough to destroy the entire Konoha. And what Konoha needs is stability. But none of this matters anymore. Uchiha Kusunoki waved his hand. He had won, shattering the plan laid down by Senju Tobirama and altering the Uchiha clan's dismal future. I'll show you what I do. I will take Konoha to a position never before achieved by either of you Hokage. HMPH, arrogant, Senju Tobirama snorted, clearly not convinced. He wanted to surpass himself and his elder brother? Such a boast. I'll make sure you see that day, Tobirama-sama. How about a bet? In my lifetime, while I'm still alive, you'll witness Konoha flourish under my rule. Then you must accept defeat and recognize me as the third Hokage. Uchiha Kusunoki's true intentions were revealed. There was no way he could convince Senju Tobirama with mere rhetoric, and he didn't have the eloquence of Uzumaki Naruto. Only by demonstrating future success could he convince Senju Tobirama to accept him wholeheartedly. Okay, I'd like to see what you can do to make me accept you as the third Hokage. Senju Tobirama was secretly delighted and readily agreed to Uchiha Kusunoki's bet. This bet had no disadvantages for him at all. He was also worried that Uchiha Kusunoki would soon cancel the impure world reincarnation and allow his soul to return to the Pure Land. In that case, he would have no chance of winning. He would really have to let Uchiha Kusunoki do whatever he wanted in Konoha. But I want to achieve all this and I can't do it without the help of Lord Tobirama. Uchiha Kusunoki looked at Senju Tobirama with a greedy look in his eyes. His long-term tasks were completely dependent on Senju Tobirama. Whether it was making money or developing technology, Senju Tobirama was the perfect tool. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Tobirama, Just Obey Me. Uchiha Non glanced up and down at Senju Tobirama with greedy eyes, just like an old farmer looking at crops that were about to be harvested. What is the most expensive thing in this ninja world? Of course, it is talent. How can Tsunade live so happily even though she owes so much money? Of course, it is because she has mastered the core technology, the extremely powerful medical ninjutsu. For every penny she owes, the creditors will not press too hard, because there is always a seriously ill patient in every family. As long as Tsunade is there, it is like having an extra life. The big moneymen behind the gambling houses would like Tsunade to owe more. The more she owes, the more favors they can get. As for the debts, it is nothing more than a longer repayment period. Tsunade will pay it back sooner or later, and they only have one life. The Senju Tobirama in front of him is even stronger than Tsunade. All the powerful forbidden techniques that can be said to be the best in the ninja world come from his hands. The Yondame's famous Flying Thunder God technique, the Impure World Reincarnation technique that ignited the Fourth Shinobi World War, and Uzumaki Naruto's multiple shadow clone technique. Furthermore, Tobirama's main job has always been Hokage, and these forbidden techniques were all invented in his spare time. He must imprison Tobirama in a secret room within the Uchiha clan territory, allowing him to focus on scientific research every day. What do you want to do? Senju Tobirama felt Uchiha Kusunoki's scorching gaze and instinctively sensed a sense of malice, as if Uchiha Kusunoki intended to do something awful to him. What do I want to do, Tobirama-sama? You are my prisoner now. I have full control over your body, so naturally I can do whatever I want. Hey, Uchiha Kusunoki smiled like a pervert. I'm warning you, don't mess around. Senju Tobirama panicked. He seemed to have seen this situation before. He seemed to have said the same thing when he used prisoners for scientific experiments. But did Uchiha Kusunoki understand what scientific research meant? The Uchiha clan's talents have always been focused on combat. Master Tobirama, you should obey me. After all, everything I do is for Konoha. Stop spouting nonsense. Just tell me what you want me to do. Senju Tobirama, a bit fed up with Uchiha Nan's strange, aggressive rhetoric, confronted him directly. Of course, I'll have you work for me and focus all your energy on research. Honestly, Master Tobirama, every day you spend as Hokage is a waste of your life. A talent like you should be engaged in research every day, otherwise it's a loss to the entire ninja world. Uchiha Non highly praised Senju Tobirama's scientific abilities. He believed that wasting his time as Hokage was a loss to the entire ninja world. If Senju Tobirama had devoted even a little time and energy to improving productivity, technology trees like steel, food, and electricity would have been fully developed long ago. For a ninjutsu capable of inventing something as miraculous as impure world reincarnation, these things would be a piece of cake for Senju Tobirama. Do you really think so? Senju Tobirama's eyes lit up. Uchiha Kusunoki's unabashed praise inflated his vanity. He actually felt a confidant in him. The evil Uchiha brat before him suddenly didn't seem so annoying anymore. He'd discovered something he was most proud of. It was such a shame that the person in the world who admired his research experiments the most was the evil brat of the Uchiha clan. The Senju clan was counting on him to expand their power, interested only in the position of the third Hokage. Even his eldest brother urged him to cut back on his outlandish experiments and focus more on building Konoha. Every time he invented a powerful forbidden technique, his eldest brother would first ask if it was a water jutsu. If not, he'd proactively write it down in the book of sealing and keep it secret. He'd say these forbidden techniques were so powerful they were against harmony, and that passing them on to Konoha's ninjas would do nothing but harm. It was simply unbelievable. Of course, Lord Tobirama, you are the ninja world's foremost scientist, especially the ninjutsu you invented to combat the Uchiha clan. Every strike was pushing the Uchiha clan to the brink of destruction. The Uchiha clan's Sharingan possesses terrifying insight and illusion abilities, so you invented the Dark Walker technique. The Sharingan can see through clone jutsu, so you invented the Shadow Clones, the main Decay of Sharingan, activated to summon Susanoo. You invented the impure world reincarnation technique and the multiplying detonating talisman technique to wage a war of attrition. With your unparalleled scientific prowess, you can increase your research at will as the Uchiha clan's power grows. Who in the ninja world can rival you? Uchiha Non decided to illustrate his point with examples. He flipped through the book of seals and discovered that Senju Tobirama was constantly updating his research findings, inventing ninjutsu to counter the Uchiha clan's strengths at each stage of their power. When it comes to dealing with Uchiha, no one in the entire ninja world is more expert than Senju Tobirama. However, this expertise truly terrifies Uchiha Kusunoki. He'll definitely have to change his profession in the future. Senju Tobirama's newly sparked fondness for Uchiha Kusunoki immediately vanished. His praise was tinged with sarcasm, and he couldn't tell whether Uchiha Kusunoki was complimenting him or mocking him. I'll just take that as a compliment, Senju Tobirama snorted, his mind calculating. If it was simply to assist the evil Uchiha brat in his scientific research, he could certainly collaborate with him. If the bet Uchiha Kusunoki was talking about was to occasionally be resurrected by Uchiha Kusunoki to see Konoha under his rule, then his plan to escape would likely be a distant dream. But if he continued to assist Uchiha Kusunoki with his scientific research, he could remain in the human world forever. As long as he persisted in his resurrected form, he would definitely have a chance to sneak out. Moreover, his scientific research will eventually be used by Uchiha Non to strengthen Konoha's strength. No matter how you look at it, it is a sure win for him to cooperate with Uchiha Non. He still has a lot of experiments that he hasn't done in his lifetime. He really misses the days when he was on the laboratory table. In the past, it was either because he was too poor to do experiments, or because he had no time to do experiments due to handling Konoha's official business. Pure and rational scientific research experiments are much more interesting than fighting and killing. Just think of it as a vacation for yourself. However, he can't just agree to the evil brat of Uchiha in front of him so easily. He must negotiate conditions and can't work for him for free. You mean you want me to do scientific research for you? Let me tell you, I am the second generation Hokage. I have invented countless ninjutsu in my life. What's more, you usurped the position of Hokage of Konoha. We are mortal enemies, so if you want me to work for you, my salary will be very expensive. Chapter 63, Tobirama, you don't even want to call me Hokage. Hiring me isn't cheap. Senju Tobirama rubbed his fingers together, a serious expression on his face as he earnestly demanded his reward from Uchiha Non. Uchiha Non watched Senju Tobirama's mercenary behavior and sneered inwardly. He couldn't let Senju Tobirama take the initiative. He couldn't name a price himself, regardless of whether it met Senju Tobirama's expectations or not. That ruthless fellow would surely shake his head and say, not enough. More money. He had to take the initiative. Tobirama-sama, I think you've misunderstood the situation. You're my prisoner, a tool for the impure world reincarnation. You still want to make terms? Do you think that just because I keep calling you Tobirama-sama, you're a piece of cake? Uchiha Non let out a look of disdain, firmly resisting Senju Tobirama's attempt to raise the price. Damn you, you evil brat of the Uchiha family. Senju Tobirama was choked by Uchiha Non's arrogant words. Originally, Senju Tobirama had been thinking of negotiating terms with Uchiha Non. I didn't expect Uchiha Non to be so rude. He had no respect for me, a veteran comrade who had fought his entire life for Konoha. He even tried to trick me into working for him for nothing. How outrageous. So what? I was indeed resurrected by your impure world reincarnation. Even if you possessed my body, what good will that do? My soul, my wisdom, are not yours. Scientific research requires brains. Do you Uchiha have brains? A bunch of brute men who only know how to hack people. Senju Tobirama, undeterred by Uchiha Non's threats, sneered, mocking the Uchiha as a bunch of brute men who only knew how to hack people. Senju Tobirama had his own trump card. If he wanted to use his abilities for scientific research, he couldn't just use himself as a puppet. He had to draw on his own wisdom. This was something impure world reincarnation couldn't control. You want me to work for you for nothing? Dream on. Senju Tobirama smiled smugly. As long as he mastered the core technology, he wouldn't have to worry about Uchiha Non not compromising with him. Master Tobirama, if you're going to play along, I'll have to do something. Uchiha Kusunoki put on a helpless expression, as if Senju Tobirama had gone too far. Tsunade is so adorable. Uchiha Kusunoki suddenly changed the subject to Tsunade. Asshole, what do you want? Senju Tobirama suddenly felt something was wrong. He was so preoccupied with his possession of core technology that he had forgotten that Uchiha Kusunoki was still a ruthless Uchiha. Furthermore, Uchiha Kusunoki had likely activated his main Decay Sharingan, turning him into a mentally unstable psychopath. Senju Tobirama didn't dare to contemplate the price of provoking a psychopath. Tsunade hasn't graduated from the Ninja Academy yet, but she will eventually. The ninja world is far from peaceful right now. The war between Konoha and the Hidden Mist and Hidden Rock villages isn't over yet. The villages are always short of combat ninja. Lord Tobirama, if the intensity of the war intensifies, it's reasonable to send lovely Tsunade to the battlefield. War is deadly. Even the arrogant Second Hokage like you died on the battlefield, and the Hokage's granddaughter also sacrificed for Konoha. It's only natural, isn't it? Uchiha Kusunoki's words made Senju Tobirama grit his teeth. You bastard, I've never seen such a shameless person. How dare you attack a child? Senju Tobirama wanted to tear Uchiha Kusunoki into pieces. How dare you threaten him with Tsunade? That was the bloodline passed down from his eldest brother. He had been keeping Tsunade at the Ninja Academy to prevent her from graduating and going on missions. If the war spiraled out of control again, Tsunade, a young woman with no idea of the horrors of the battlefield, would undoubtedly clamor to go and make a name for herself. Even if she were assigned to the relatively safer duties of logistics, there was no guarantee of an accident. If Tsunade died, Senju Tobirama felt he would be too embarrassed to face his elder brother in his afterlife. Uchiha Kusunoki had the audacity to threaten him with Tsunade. Tobirama-sama, please don't try to blame me. I didn't intend to do anything to Tsunade. War kills. Many Uchiha clan members have died in it. Even when I was Tsunade's age, I nearly died on a mission. Why is Tsunade so special? Who can predict what will happen in war? Uchiha Kusunoki, a smug smile on his face, looked at Senju Tobirama's impotent fury, adding fuel to his fire. It was natural that Uchiha Kusunoki would do nothing to Tsunade. The future foremost medical ninja in the ninja world, who later single-handedly established Konoha's medical system, Uchiha Kusunoki couldn't protect such a brilliant talent enough. Even though Tsunade was a member of the Senju clan, they couldn't afford to harm such a talent. If Tsunade were sent out on a mission without proper reason, and she were to be killed like her damned brother by a detonating tag that can't kill anyone, it would be a truly tragic loss. What an evil brat of the Uchiha clan! Senju Tobirama cursed at Uchiha Kusunoki's shameless face, but he stopped after a few words. Uchiha Kusunoki had him under his thumb. He didn't mind being resurrected by Uchiha Kusunoki and used as a tool. After all, he had used this tactic many times before. It was just a matter of fate. Desecrating the soul of the dead would always bring retribution. Now it was just retribution. But if Tsunade's safety was at stake, Senju Tobirama couldn't sit still. Now he had no choice but to bow to Uchiha Kusunoki. Okay, I promise, I'll do the research for you, but you have to promise me you won't do anything to Tsunade. Whatever happens to Tsunade in the future, I'll blame it on you. When that day comes, even if my soul is in the Pure Land, I'll find a way back to the human world to settle accounts with you. Senju Tobirama, with a fierce exterior but a weak heart, threatened Uchiha Kusunoki. Of course, as Hokage, it's my duty to protect the bloodline of the Shodaime Hokage. You're such a shameless bastard. Uchiha Kusunoki changed his tone so quickly that Senju Tobirama called him shameless. Hearing Senju Tobirama's continued outburst, Uchiha Kusunoki's expression immediately changed color. Tobirama, I feel like you don't respect me. I promised you that I would always protect Tsunade, and you still don't even want to call me Hokage. You're making it very difficult for me. Senju Tobirama's face twitched when he heard what Uchiha said. He was right to say that you were a shameless person. However, the situation was stronger than the person. Uchiha took the initiative, and he would tolerate him for now. When he escaped in the future, he would definitely get back at him. Senju Tobirama's throat surged, and he reluctantly uttered 4 big words. Hokage. Chapter 64 You evil old ghost from the Senju family. Are you satisfied now? Senju Tobirama looked at Uchiha with a gloomy face. He actually felt to the point of calling an evil brat of the Uchiha family Hokage-sama. It was really like a tiger in plain land being bullied by a dog. But things may change over time, we'll see. Quite satisfied, Uchiha nodded, very satisfied with Senju Tobirama's surrender. Senju Tobirama's call of Hokage-sama made Uchiha feel as refreshed as drinking ice water in the dog days of summer. In all the years that Senju Tobirama has been dominating the ninja world, He is probably the only Uchiha who can make him compromise to this extent. Cool. Stop talking nonsense. What do you want me to research? A forbidden technique that can kill hundreds of people in an instant? Or a technique to transform and strengthen my body? Or perhaps a technique like in Pure World Reincarnation that desecrates the souls of the dead? Senju Tobirama spoke incessantly about his own forbidden techniques. He had a wide range of expertise in developing forbidden techniques, even stating that he could help Uchiha Non with all the necessary funding. Senju Tobirama could easily figure it out. Uchiha Non had gone to such great lengths to perform in Pure World Reincarnation himself, surely to develop powerful forbidden techniques. Since he was seeking excitement, he might as well pursue it. He had some ideas about these forbidden techniques in his lifetime, but for various reasons, he couldn't develop them. What a shame. Uchiha Non frowned as he listened to Senju Tobirama's endless exposition. Senju Tobirama, how dare you call me an evil brat of the Uchiha clan? Senju Tobirama, if you're so fond of developing forbidden techniques that kill people, can't you focus your research on improving the productivity of the ninja world and benefiting its people? You evil old devil of the Senju family, who told you to research and develop these boring forbidden techniques that kill people? Uchiha Kusunoki couldn't help but curse, startling the eloquent Senju Tobirama. That's my word, what do you mean? Senju Tobirama was a little confused by Uchiha Kusunoki's intentions. Isn't scientific research all about developing forbidden techniques? If ninjas don't develop forbidden techniques to kill people, what else do you want to do? Tobirama, you disappoint me, but in the end, it's not your fault. Even though you were once a Hokage, you're still a ninja after all. A ninja only needs to consider killing people, but a Hokage has so much more to consider. Uchiha Kusunoki shook his head. As a Hokage, he had to ask the daimyo for money and beg for favors. It was really humiliating. What do you mean? Are you saying I'm unqualified as Hokage? Senju Tobirama glared at Uchiha Kusunoki. He had founded Konoha from scratch. His elder brother, Hoshirama, merely provided a deterrent, spending his days drinking, and having fun with Uchiha Madara, sneaking around for who knows what. He even frequently swindled money from him and then lost it at the gambling den. He had founded Konoha, and yet he dared to imply that he, the Hokage, was unqualified? Of course not. You're certainly qualified to be Hokage, but I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. For example, regarding funding, Uchiha Kusunoki hinted, thinking it was unnecessary to have more daimyo over him. Daimyo didn't refer to a single individual, but rather to a system that had dominated the ninja world for millennia. Uchiha Kusunoki couldn't resist the distorted technological development, the outdated productivity, and the backward production relations. HMPH, the Fire Country Daimyo gives Konoha the highest funding in the entire ninja world. I even asked for billions more this year. Let me tell you, according to my estimates, the funding for the Wind Country Sands Village might even be cut. Senju Tobirama felt that Uchiha Kusunoki was nitpicking. He had indeed overspent significantly during his tenure as Hokage in order to win the war. But burning through money during wartime wasn't normal. Which ninja village wasn't in debt right now? Konoha's finances were already excellent, and there was a major financial backer willing to top up the money. Huh? Senju Tobirama, you're so proud. You're even starting to compare yourself to others. This damn tradition of comparing yourself to others is prevalent in every world. Tobirama, we need to be open-minded. Why should we ask the daimyo for money? We need to learn to be self-reliant. Uchiha Kusunoki decided to give Senju Tobirama some advice. Are you referring to the money the ninjas get for taking missions? Senju Tobirama looked at Uchiha Kusunoki, thinking he was crazy. Isn't self-reliance for a ninja village simply about sending ninja out on missions and taking a cut, though at most, it's only 3 tires? The lion's share still has to go to the ninja. If they wanted to give Konoha more, Senju Tobirama would have to worry about being attacked by his own ninja at night. This little money wouldn't be enough to support a war effort, it would be gone in a few months. Without state support, a ninja village might be fine in peacetime, but it wouldn't last long in a war. Who wouldn't want to be self-reliant and stand up straight? Money is a tough nut to crack. Even if you work yourself to death on S-level missions, you still wouldn't get as much as the funds provided by the daimyo. Of course not. I mean, we can also develop production and establish our own production methods, and then the daimyo will be useless. Uchiha Non thought it would be better to put it more clearly. Shinobi might not need a daimyo in the future, but the daimyo's power in the ninja world today cannot be underestimated. And this power, of course, doesn't refer to military might. While ninja are powerful, their numbers are far too few. A major ninja world war would typically involve only tens of thousands of ninja, and Konoha's current ninja force has been severely depleted, with numbers estimated at hundreds of millions. Furthermore, ninjas carry a negative reputation among the general public, often labeled as instruments of death or executioners. The daimyo represent the interests of the common people and the conservative classes. Ninjas are a new breed, an alien species, introduced by the Otsutsuki clan. Previously, the samurai were the dominant and powerful force. With the exception of the Otsutsuki clan, ordinary ninjas began their lives with limited strength, initially shunned by the samurai as aliens. However, as the ninjutsu system evolved and matured, the ninjas' power grew, even reaching the point where they could easily kill samurai. The former daimyo, keenly aware of this, began to woo the ninja, offering them money, women, and food. After countless years of evolution, ninjas served the daimyo, carrying out missions. In return, the daimyo rewarded the ninja generously, gradually forming a customary practice, allowing everyone to continue enjoying life together. It was just a little more hardship for the common people. The pen was still in the hands of the daimyo, and the theory of ninja as a tool took a long time to emerge. What a world of gaps. These various reasons made it difficult for ninjas to rise to power and become true rulers. Uchiha Kusunoki pondered, awaiting Senju Tobirama's response. Please fix it. It's illogical for the daimyo to stand so high above the ninja. I can only rely on my own logic to improve the worldview. If the readers feel that the explanation is not comprehensive enough, then that's the fault of that bastard Kishimoto. Chapter 65, Tobirama, what did you do with our bodies? Senju Tobirama's pupils shrank as he looked at Uchiha Kusunoki with fear, shocked by his ambition. He'd actually set his sights on the daimyo. The daimyo usually remained inconspicuous, lurking behind the scenes, using money, power, and food to win over the ninja world. The daimyo had been doling out favors and wooing the ninja for millennia, and the ties between the ninja and the daimyo were intricate and complex. Rushing to challenge the daimyo's rule might initially give them the upper hand, but the ultimate outcome was uncertain. This was power accumulated over millennia. Attempting to overthrow the daimyo's rule solely through Konoha was far too presumptuous. If Uchiha Madara and his eldest brother joined forces, they might have a chance of annihilating the daimyo, unleashing a single blow. But what would happen next? Even if the daimyo were eliminated, the ninja wouldn't know how to govern, and things might only get worse. Better to accept the status quo, and the Fire Country's daimyo was willing to spend money. The ninjas of Konoha could still get by. It was just a matter of a few more deaths, but if they endured, they could continue to reproduce. Ninjas, after all, were supposed to be patient. Uchiha Kusunoki's idea, however, was truly dangerous. True to his Uchiha roots, his ideas were always earth-shattering, and if he wasn't careful, he could lead Konoha into a potentially disastrous situation. Senju Tobirama explained the pros and cons to Uchiha Kusunoki, trying to dissuade him. Tobirama, of course I understand what you're saying, I'm not that stupid. I'm going to just go and kill those daimyos. If I did that, I'd probably have those pedantic ninjas of Konoha disown me. The ninja tool theory is so deeply ingrained in my thinking, so I'm trying a different approach. Start from the bottom, undermine the daimyos. Uchiha Kusunoki shook his head. True friends are hard to come by in this world. The daimyo's military power is insignificant. They can only stand above the ninja because they rely on outdated production relations and their monopoly on the ninja's livelihood. The daimyo rule over the common people, exploiting the productive value to hold us ninja hostage. The common people see ninja as a scourge, but why can't ninja replace the daimyo and represent the interests of the vast majority of ordinary people? All they want is food and clothing. Tobirama, I don't believe you haven't seen ordinary people starving to death. The destructive power of ninja warfare is truly immense, severely impacting the survival of ordinary people. This will only push them to the daimyo's side. I am determined to change this. Uchiha Kusunoki tried to change Senju Tobirama's thinking. Uchiha Kusunoki instilled in him a host of theories about explosive productivity growth, researching high-yield crop seeds and combining chakra with technology to increase productivity. While the productivity-focused theory was biased, it could solve many problems. Now, the key to an explosive productivity growth lies in the hands of ninja scientists like Senju Tobirama. All sorts of fantastical ideas blew Senju Tobirama's mind, but to Uchiha Kusunoki, these were mere clichés from his past life in Rabbit Country. Senju Tobirama, one of the most brilliant minds in the ninja world, was often blinded by a single thought. Once given a hint, he'd naturally grasp everything. Uchiha Kusunoki was the one who initially spoke. But Senju Tobirama was quick to absorb and even followed his ideas to improve upon them. Rabbits are rabbits, and the ninja world is the ninja world. Some things can't be messed around. We must adhere to the principle of seeking truth from facts. The two, once sworn enemies, engaged in a lively discussion in the darkened backroom for a long time, leaving Uchiha Kusunoki dry-mouthed. Tobirama, I'm impressed by you. You've improved so quickly. You're far superior to those Konoha ninjas who only care about completing missions and getting paid. Uchiha Kusunoki couldn't help but praise Senju Tobirama. He had indeed made the right decision to bring him back through the impure world reincarnation. I am the Hokage of Konoha. I am not comparable to those ordinary ninjas, Senju Tobirama said indignantly. What does your elder tone mean? Tobirama, you are beginning to agree with my ideas. If everything I said could be realized, many tragedies of constant ninja wars could be avoided. The peace that the Shodaime longed for might actually come, Uchiha teased Senju Tobirama. His excitement just now had pleased him. He had to mobilize Senju Tobirama's subjective initiative. He didn't understand scientific research. Although he could coerce Senju Tobirama to work for him, if Senju Tobirama didn't put in enough effort, that was beyond Uchiha-nan's control. Stop your nonsense, you evil little Uchiha. I simply don't want you to lead Konoha down a path of no return. Konoha is my life's work, and I will not allow you to destroy it. Senju Tobirama was stunned for a moment, then immediately refuted Uchiha Kusunoki's nonsense. How could he possibly agree with an Uchiha? While what Uchiha Kusunoki proposed was certainly appealing and even highly feasible, Konoha possessed unparalleled military power in the Land of Fire. It was their ballast. Gradually undermining the daimyo's foundation, the daimyo would be wary of Konoha's might and would be reluctant to act rashly. By the time they could no longer accept it, Konoha would have already taken the initiative. But it still required me to achieve all this. Senju Tobirama couldn't help but feel smug. Improving productivity was easy to say, but it was far from easy to do. It all required the work of the ninja world's foremost scientific researcher, himself. Uchiha Kusunoki, you just said a few words. Recognizing you, Uchiha Kusunoki? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Tisk, Uchiha waved his hand, unwilling to argue with the arrogant old man, Senju Tobirama. His mission for tonight was almost complete. Getting Senju Tobirama to devote his energy to his work was already his greatest reward. Now, there was only one last thing left. Ultimately, this world was a world where the power of heaven and earth belonged to itself. All those grand speeches about changing the ninja world were just excuses. Uchiha was more concerned with completing the mission, earning the golden reward, and increasing his power. Besides using the spin wheel, there were other ways to improve one's own strength. He still had Hashirame's remains in his possession, and Hashirame's cells were a valuable resource. He couldn't just leave this scientific master alone, he had to give him a bigger responsibility. Tobirama, we now have a common goal. I need your help with something. Uchiha opened the sealing scroll, and Hashirame's remains instantly appeared before him. Senju Tobirama's eyes darkened. Impure world reincarnation only requires the cells of the person being reincarnated, but Uchiha actually went so far as to completely destroy the pot and dig up the body directly from the graveyard. God damn it. You evil Uchiha brat. Chapter 66, Tobirama, we are a family. Look, you're anxious again. Uchiha looked at the furious Senju Tobirama, holding his forehead with one hand helplessly. Tobirama, when will you be able to mature a little? Anyone who sees that the Shodaime's body is still intact after death and the cells retain the breath of life, will be curious and will definitely take it out for a thorough study. It's just that Uchiha himself doesn't know how to do scientific experiments. If he met Orochimaru who knows how to do it in the future, he would probably be excited to the extreme. Uchiha couldn't help but imagine the scene. Orochimaru, whose male and female is hard to tell, has a flushed face and stares at the Shodaime's body with obsessed eyes. When he is deeply moved, he will use his forked tongue to lick the Shodaime's face to taste the saltiness. No, that's tasting the breath of life. Uchiha couldn't help but feel a chill and immediately stopped his fantasy. Asshole, you've not only desecrated my soul, you've also desecrated my elder brother's body. One day, you'll get your comeuppance, Senju Tobirama raged. It wasn't enough that he'd dug up his own grave, he'd gone so far as to dug up his elder brother's, too. This is unbearable. Huh? Uchiha Nan's eyes widened. Senju Tobirama, how dare you even say such a thing? You invented the impure world reincarnation technique, and after your elder brother, Hoshirama Senju, died, you were the first to experiment on his body. If there's any retribution, it'll be you first. Senju Tobirama, don't think I'm unaware of your deeds. You've been experimenting on the Shadame-sama's cells for a long time. His body is an untapped treasure. I doubt you wouldn't be tempted to do so, and now you're blaming me. Uchiha Nan's retort left Senju Tobirama speechless. That was absolutely right. He'd hit the snake in the groin. After Hoshirama Senju's death, the first person to notice something strange about his body was Tobirama Senju. A man is dead, but his cells are still alive? That's ridiculous. Tobirama Senju always had a question in his mind. Born to the same parents, his brother Hoshirama hadn't shown much greater talent or strength than he did when they were little. But then he met that bastard Uchiha Madara. His older brother's strength skyrocketed, like a shot of chicken blood. Later, he even activated wood release, and his strength tripled, reaching a point where Tobirama couldn't even begin to compare. Seeing the strange changes in his older brother's remains, Tobirama felt as if he had uncovered the world's most precious treasure. He was eager to slice him up and study him, hoping to learn the secret of his strength. However, Tobirama Senju had a point. If he did slice his older brother's remains, he feared his sister-in-law, Mito Uzumaki, would slice him up. So, he only drew a little blood and collected a few cells. If that wasn't enough, Tobirama Senju could use those cells to grow new ones. I advise you not to set your sights on my elder brother's remains. The secrets involved are complex and you can't grasp them, Senju Tobirama warned Uchiha Nan with a stern expression. The original experiment with Hoshirama's cells had involved a massive investment, but the results were horrific. A look of regret crossed Senju Tobirama's face. He had been ecstatic to discover that Hoshirama's cells could grant one the power of his elder brother's wood release technique. If he could replicate his elder brother's wood release technique, even at the 4th or 5th level, Konoha's strength would surge. But he was too impatient, not realizing the terrifying corrosiveness of Hoshirama's cells. According to Senju Tobirama's experience, members of his own clan would be the most compatible with Hoshirama's cells, so he secretly gathered his clan members to recruit volunteers. Hoshirama's wood release technique dominated the entire ninja world, and every member of the Senju clan yearned for such power. Upon hearing Senju Tobirama's call for action, they eagerly signed up, desperate for their lives. The result was predictable. They all died horribly, their bodies distorted and twisted, their human cells mutating into tree cells, transforming into bizarre-looking trees. This infuriated Senju Tobirama. So many clan members had died, for nothing. However, the experiment was far too dangerous, and he had no choice but to close it down. The Senju clan sacrificed many members back then. Uchiha Kusunoki, you'd better give up. Even the Senju clan, who are from the same clan as you, are so poorly adapted to Hoshirama's cells, let alone other ninja. Senju Tobirama told Uchiha Kusunoki about his past experiments, attempting to dissuade him from the idea by using his own painful experience. Hoshirama's cells were too dangerous, and this experiment would result in many deaths. Of course I understand, but Tobirama, I think your thinking is flawed. Hoshirama's cells are so corrosive, why can't you find a medium to counteract this corrosiveness? Uchiha Kusunoki nodded, understanding the dangers of Hoshirama's cells, and offered his own approach. HMPH, did you think I wouldn't have thought of that? I've tried that approach before, and I haven't found a way to suppress Hoshirama's cells. Senju Tobirama looked arrogant. You, an Uchiha who can only cut people, dare to show off in front of a scientific master like him. No, I know, Uchiha Nan couldn't help but smirk. He knew the plot well. Only the Uchiha could suppress Hoshirama's cells. As for whether it was the Uchiha's cells, the Uchiha's Sharingan, or the Sharingan's pupil power that could suppress Hoshirama's cells, Uchiha Nan had no idea. Now that they had a direction, the rest would be left to Tobirama. Then it's the Uchiha? Don't you think the Uchiha and Senju families are mutually exclusive? Our families have been entangled for millennia. Who else but the Uchiha can counter Hoshirama's cells? Whether it's the Uchiha's cells, the Uchiha's Sharingan, or the Sharingan's power that can counter the aggressive nature of Hoshirama's cells is something you should research. I can prepare all of these for you. We still have plenty of Uchiha Sharingans in our family, and we can supply them to you. I don't care what the price is, I just want the power of Hoshirama's cells. Senju Tobirama's eyes lit up at Uchiha Nan's answer. This was an idea he had never considered before. Although the idea was a bit unorthodox, it was worth a try. After all, the money and experimental resources all belonged to Uchiha. He didn't feel bad selling his own son, so he just had to produce as much as he could. If Tobirama succeeds, it means that Uchiha and Senju are really destined to be together. Maybe 1,000 years ago we were one family, Uchiha was the elder brother and Senju was the younger brother, but they had an unfair father, which led to an unfair division of the family, and the two brothers might have broken up because of this. Uchiha said some big truths, and the truth was so outrageous. However, these words were extremely harsh in the ears of Senju Tobirama. Uchiha and Senju are one family? You are Uchiha and the elder brother? I think you are talking nonsense. You are talking nonsense. Senju Tobirama had a gloomy face, and he really wanted to punch Uchiha. This guy really found ways to take advantage of him. Chapter 67 I have no money, but you still want to support me? Senju Tobirama glared at Uchiha with wide eyes. He had lost count of how many times his anger had broken free that evening, as if Uchiha was born to torture him. Alright, I'm done with you. Bring me some paper and pen, the equipment and materials needed for the experiment. I'll make you a list. Go get them. Senju Tobirama waved his hand, signaling his discontinuation. He beckoned Uchiha to get some paper and pen, planning to make a list for him to prepare for the lab. The lab needed to be large, the equipment needed for the experiments new and advanced. The materials needed to be expensive and highly responsive. Senju Tobirama wrote on the paper, the tip of his pen making a scratching sound. Uchiha didn't take it seriously at first, but after 5 minutes, he noticed something was wrong. Senju Tobirama hadn't even finished writing yet. Uchiha looked at the excited Senju Tobirama, mumbling something to himself. This culture medium is very expensive, costing 5,000 taels. 50 bottles are in order. This potion seems to be only available in the land of demons. It's so expensive, you might not even be able to buy it even if you pay. It doesn't matter if you write cultivating grain seeds, I heard that in the land of fields. Uchiha's fists hardened. He was being taken advantage of. Another half hour later, Senju Tobirama handed Uchiha a thick sheaf of papers. He glanced through it. It was filled with all sorts of lab equipment, some imported from the land of sand, some specially made from the land of lightning. There were countless potions, covering almost every country in the ninja world. Uchiha had never heard of some place he'd never heard of. Secret solutions from some remote country, priced by the gram. Uchiha was so angry that he opened his Sharingan. He roughly estimated the price in his mind, at least 3 billion. That was just for building the laboratory, not counting the subsequent losses in experimental progress. You bastard, are you doing this on purpose? This time, it was Uchiha's turn to break down. Even if he gave Senju Tobirama all the Uchiha family's wealth, it wouldn't be enough for him to build this. What do you know? Do you understand science? Do you know how much scientific research experiments cost? Every scientific discovery is based on countless dollars burned through. Senju Tobirama spoke righteously, his eyes filled with contempt as he looked at Uchiha. These expenses were not written casually by Senju Tobirama, they would definitely be needed in the future. However, the expenses Senju Tobirama listed were all top-notch experimental equipment and raw materials. If funds were insufficient, there were substitutes, but the effect would be slightly inferior. Some of these instruments and solutions were something Senju Tobirama had never been able to afford in the past. They were ridiculously expensive. There was a reason why Hashirama Senju had always advised him to do less scientific research. It was too expensive. You're not broke, are you? Senju Tobirama sneered. Uchiha had just said with such confidence that he would obtain the power of Hashirama's cells, no matter the cost. This power isn't cheap. Uchiha Kusunoki choked. Konoha still lacked tens of billions for comprehensive development, and even the money he'd taken from the ninja clan couldn't fill the gap. The previous funds had already been deposited into the Konoha treasury. To reduce corruption, Konoha would regularly publish detailed accounts. Although there might have been some embezzlement, it was acceptable to make the accounts look good. Wasn't there a war going on before, and it was allocated to military expenses? And you dared send accountants to audit the military expenses? Even if you sent several groups, they would end up stabbed in the back and killed themselves. But 3 billion was no small sum. Everyone in Konoha was eyeing this funding. Uchiha Kusunoki had snatched money from the ninja clan for the sake of money. If he made any small moves at this time, If there was even the slightest discrepancy in the accounts, the ninja clan would seize on it. If discovered, Uchiha Kusunoki shuddered to think what the consequences would be. He might even be impeached and removed from office. The Hokage of Konoha can't even afford such a small sum. Senju Tobirama, determined to strike back, finally saw Uchiha Kusunoki's face utterly defeated. It was satisfying, truly satisfying. You amateur, you have no idea how much a scientific experiment costs, and yet you just spoke so freely, saying at all costs, you evil Uchiha brat, you're too young? Senju Tobirama, determined to press his advantage, continued. So that's your excuse for embezzlement? Uchiha Kusunoki immediately recalled the 10 billion ryo that Senju Tobirama had embezzled, and he launched into counterattack. You embezzled 10 billion ryo this time, right? You're the Hokage, and you dared to embezzle? You must have embezzled plenty in the past. If I checked the accounts, I'd definitely find out. What if I spread the news, huh? Senju Tobirama was getting nervous. He recalled the correspondence he had exchanged with a daimyo. For so many years, the Hokage's office had always been his own. He had gotten used to keeping confidential things in the office. No one except his eldest brother dared to go in casually anyway. He died suddenly and forgot to destroy them. Senju Tobirama looked flustered, as if he had forgotten to clear his browsing history before dying. Ahem, actually, there are substitutes for these things in there. I can write a new one for you. Senju Tobirama pretended to be nonchalant, picked up the paper, and wrote down some substitute materials. Uchiha Minami looked at Senju Tobirama's forced calmness and sneered inwardly. He knew this black-hearted guy was trying to defraud funds, just like Orochimaru in later generations. After Senju Tobirama finished writing, he handed it to Uchiha Minami. Uchiha Minami recalculated the bill and found that the price had dropped by nearly 1/5. Well, it's still an astronomical figure. This is already the cheapest. Don't look at me. Scientific research requires money, Senju Tobirama, observing Uchiha Kusunoki's embarrassed expression, said kindly. I understand. Uchiha Kusunoki nodded helplessly. He knew that scientific research required money, and good things were naturally expensive. But he really didn't have the money. We can start with research projects to increase steel and grain production, as well as generators. Uchiha Kusunoki recalled the appliances he had won in the previous lottery, a refrigerator, a television, an air conditioner, and a radio. These would all make up the traditional wedding set. Clicking the extract button, Uchiha Kusunoki summoned the appliances, intending to have Senju Tobirama study their mechanics to see if they could be mass-produced. These things, special ninja tools, Senju Tobirama surveyed the appliances before him. They were truly bizarre, and he longed to dismantle them for further study. As the ninja world's foremost experimentalist, Senju Tobirama was instinctively curious about their mechanics. Tobirama, research these things thoroughly. You can make a killing, Uchiha Kusunoki instructed Senju Tobirama. Once these appliances were fully researched and mass-produced, they would first be sold to the shinobi daimyo. They had money and a desire for quality of life, so they wouldn't hesitate to spend it. Uchiha Kusunoki would sell them a single air conditioner for hundreds of thousands of ryo, then lower the price once production ramped up. Senju Tobirama nodded, promising to study them thoroughly. Then, glancing around, he realized the secret room was too small to accommodate the future laboratory equipment. This won't work as a testing site. We need to find another location. I think the Death Forest outside Konoha would be a good place, Senju Tobirama suggested, speaking as calmly as possible. Agree. Agree now, Senju Tobirama prayed. He also wanted to take advantage of the move to meet Mido. Uchiha Kusunoki had become Hokage, and a proper solution would require careful planning. It's okay. The Uchiha clan has a large dungeon. It was originally used to interrogate spies, but the Anbu hijacked that job, and it hasn't been put to use yet. It's just right to move there. Uchiha Non remembered the dungeon Tomita had casually mentioned last time. It was in a remote corner of the clan territory, and not even the clan members usually went there. Damn it. Senju Tobirama couldn't help but want to punch himself. Thanks to his arrangements, the Anbu had already snatched away the job of interrogating spies from the security department. Okay, Tobirama, I'm leaving now. You stay here and think about how to conduct future experiments. I'll make time to come and accompany you every day. Uchiha Non then ordered Senju Tobirama to stay in the secret room and not use any ninjutsu. The various commands, like computer code, bound Tobirama, causing Senju Tobirama's face to turn dark. Uchiha-nan, you're really cautious, of course. You're Tobirama Senju, I have to take this seriously." With that, Uchiha-nan turned and walked out of the secret room. He had spent the entire night with his Senju brothers, and the two little ones at home were still waiting for him to go to bed. A moment later, Uchiha-nan left the secret room. It was already late at night, and he was not in a good mood. How could he solve the problem of the extra 2 billion yen? It was impossible to pay from the family. This was for the scientific research of the entire Konoha, and the Uchiha couldn't bear it alone, and they simply couldn't afford it. How could he find a pretext to divert some of the funds? He was worried. How could this happen? Uchiha-nan found himself becoming Hokage, and he was worried about Konoha's funding. Chapter 68. Everyone, I have a proposal to make a lot of money. Just a few days had passed since the Senju Tobirama incident, and Uchiha Kusunoki was still thinking about how to embezzle some funds to build a laboratory under false pretenses. A piece of intelligence from the Anbu made Uchiha Kusunoki's pupils shrink. Conference room, an emergency meeting. Uchiha Kusunoki sat in the center seat with a solemn expression, and the Konoha high-ranking officials present all looked sad. They were all too familiar with this level of emergency meetings, which were held every time a large-scale war was about to break out. Even Uzumaki Mido, who had always been at odds with Uchiha Kusunoki, came to today's emergency meeting, which showed that the scale of this war was not small. According to reliable intelligence, there have been unusual movements in the Kirigakure and Iwagakure villages. If nothing unexpected happens, we are the target. After Uchiha Kusunoki finished speaking, the temperature in the room seemed to drop again, and everyone's expression was as cold as ice. The war has begun again. It's been so long since we've been at peace. We must find a way to avoid war. Konoha is fighting on two fronts simultaneously. We can no longer bear the cost. Hinata Takuma's voice echoed, and everyone present nodded in agreement. War means death and money, and the funds arrive only a few days later, and now they're being burned again. God, please don't be so cruel. The Konoha clan has shed enough blood and spent a fortune, and war weariness is running high. Uchiha Kusunoki watched everyone express their opinions, pondering. The First Shinobi World War was a chaotic battle. Each ninja village was made up of ninja clans, each with their own grudges. Any opportunity to take down the enemy would be unavoidable. This was the reason Konoha was able to survive. If the 4 ninja villages had united to attack Konoha, Konoha would have been overwhelmed. Konoha's primary target of the war was actually the Kumagakure village. However, like Konoha, Kumagakure had lost a second Hokage and was still in disarray. Konoha had even signed a peace agreement with Kumagakure. At this point, the third Raikage of Kumagakure would likely not attempt to provoke Konoha. The Iwagakure and Mist villages, always looking to take advantage, were likely looking to exploit Konoha's internal instability. Uchiha Kusunoki recalled the original Naruto plot, predicting a clash between the second Mizukage, Hazuki Jinjetsu, and the second Tsuchikage, Mu, resulting in both of them being annihilated. After a clash between the Mist and Iwagakure forces, each returned to their respective villages to fight for the position of third Hokage. The First Shinobi World War had almost officially concluded. Fortunately, Uchiha Kusunoki felt a sense of relief. This war was merely a lot of noise, with little consequence. Avoid war? I don't think it's that easy. We can't pin our hopes on the enemy. Uzumaki Mido refuted Hinata Takuma's remarks. This old veteran who had fought his way through the Warring States period had experienced too much and knew that peace was not begged for, but fought for. The Hyuga clan was full of spineless people. Uzumaki Mido's words were like a bucket of cold water poured on everyone's heads. It was hopeless to want a ceasefire unilaterally. At least the other side had to be hurt first before there was a chance for peace negotiations. In any case, the ninjas present were all veterans who had been through life and death many times, and they quickly reached a decision on whether to fight or not. Then came a very realistic problem. Konoha was going to bleed a lot of money again. The spies planted in the Kirigakure and Iwagakure villages are still collecting intelligence. Konoha's old wounds have not healed yet. If a war is to start, we must urgently purchase military supplies. The prices of food, medicinal materials, and pig iron have plummeted this month due to peace agreements signed between Konoha and Kumagakure. Pig iron, in particular, has dropped by 1 or 2 times. Once a war is about to break out, the prices of these materials will probably soar again. The price of pig iron is now 630,000 taels per ton, medicinal materials, Food. The price of pig iron fluctuates greatly due to the ninja wars. It is recommended to give priority to purchasing it. Once the war situation gets out of control, the price of pig iron may increase 5 or 6 times, or even more than 10 times, as in the past. Hiss. Wait a minute, why is the price of pig iron fluctuating so wildly? Uchiha asked. He had never noticed this phenomenon before. How? A ninja war requires a massive investment in weapons. Merchants, nobles, and even commoners are all stockpiling supplies for the war. As for food, the daimyo has strict control. In a country like the Land of Fire, where food is more plentiful, prices are at most double or triple. After all, ordinary people still need to eat, Narashikeon explained. Damn, these bastards. They've reached such a point of depravity that they dare to take advantage of ninjas' money. Uchiha was too tired to complain about this damned worldview. It was unthinkable that the nobles were backing them, and even the daimyo was taking a share of the spoils. But these ninjas seemed accustomed to being exploited by ordinary, powerful people. Uchiha thought about the course of the previous war. It started well but ended badly. An idea struck him. Why can't I speculate in pig iron futures? That seems like a good idea. Uchiha now dreams of making money. Konoha needs money for development. Senju Tobirama needs money for his experiments. Everything needs money. This time, the opportunity to make money has arrived. Given the current situation, if word of the war mobilization between the Kirigakure and Iwagakure villages spread, and Konoha continued to spread rumors of a major war, the price of pig iron would likely skyrocket. Uchiha Kusunoki thought of a long-term system task, creating a financial company to control a nation's economy. He could use this opportunity to establish the financial company's shell and start trading pig iron futures. The family had a weapons business, mostly for their own use and for sale to Konoha's ninja. Uchiha Kusunoki was familiar with the current pig iron trading methods. It was all spot trading, with prices negotiated in advance and sold once production was complete. Both parties had to bear the cost of price fluctuations. To prevent losses and the risk of losing money, these profiteers and nobles hoarded large quantities of spot goods for direct trading. The concept of futures trading hadn't yet emerged, and it required a strong guarantee, a long-term contract between both parties. Guarantees were too easy for Uchiha Kusunoki. He was the head of the ninja world's most violent organization. Anyone who dared to breach his contract would be sent to meet the Sage of Six Paths. Uchiha thought about it and felt that there should be no problem with this business. It should be a sure win, or a huge profit. Everyone, I have a suggestion. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 It's broken, I've become Sarutobi Hiruzen. I have a proposal to address Konoha's financial constraints. It's a bit complicated, and this place is too small for me to write it down. I can only outline the idea. Uchiha Kusunoki laid out his idea, and the once noisy meeting room immediately fell silent. What a truly astonishing idea. Everyone present recalled Uchiha Kusunoki's recent actions since becoming Hokage. First, he attacked the ninja clan, forcibly prying a piece of flesh from their mouths to feed Konoha, which had already angered the clan. Rumors had it that Uchiha Kusunoki had even accepted a gift from the daimyo, twin girls. Now, he's proposed a childish and outrageous idea. Uchiha Kusunoki, he doesn't look like a gentleman. Futures? I've never heard of them. Is it reliable? Definitely not. The clan leaders and family leaders present had been ninja their entire lives, accustomed to the lifestyle of completing missions for rewards, and instinctively resisted such a new idea. Old people are naturally conservative, gravitating toward familiar matters. But not everyone is like Tobirama Senju, with his receptive nature. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the price of pig iron is bound to skyrocket. You're thinking of buying at the bottom and then selling when the price rises. But if the war escalates beyond control again, will you be able to buy it back? This is a matter of life and death for Konoha, it's no joke. Everyone looked at each other in silence. No one wanted to be the first to rashly challenge the Hokage's authority. Enough, Uzumaki Miro shouted, interrupting Uchiha Kusunoki. Konoha isn't your toy. I've never heard of futures trading. Whether or not you can make money is secondary. Konoha's most important priority right now is to prepare for the war. A ninja's duty is to complete their mission perfectly. If you want to do business, you can become a merchant. You are now Konoha's third Hokage. Understand your identity. Your plans are nothing but fantasy. Uzumaki Mito gave Uchiha Kusunoki no respect and unleashed a barrage of abuse. With her strength, status, and position, she didn't need to worry about Uchiha Kusunoki's retaliation. Konoha was the life's work of her husband, Hashirama Senju, and she would never allow Uchiha Kusunoki to act recklessly. Damn, how could you be so disrespectful? Uchiha Kusunoki looked embarrassed, but she wasn't overly angry. Uzumaki Mito was acting impartially, entirely for Konoha's benefit. Besides, she had no idea how the war would pan out. The situation was now headed for a major war, and no one except him knew it would end so quickly. It was a complete slump, a hasty conclusion. Even if he told them, they wouldn't believe him. However, he was the Hokage, and he couldn't just let it go. Otherwise, he'd be a worthless boss. Uchiha Tomita, get Mito out of here, Uchiha Kusunoki shouted, ordering him to immediately remove Mito from the meeting room. Uchiha Tomita, sitting nearby, hesitated. He wasn't optimistic about Uchiha Kusunoki's proposal, hoping Mito could persuade him. Clan leader, Uchiha Tomita said, trying to persuade him. Shut up, weighing plants while you're working, call me Hokage-sama, follow orders. Uchiha Kusunoki glared at Uchiha Tomita with an icy gaze. You don't support me at this time. Are you planning a rebellion? Yes, Hokage-sama, Uchiha Tomita reacted immediately, waving a hand to summon several Anbu members. He walked over to Uzumaki Mito and said expressionlessly, Mito-sama, I'm sorry. Then, Mito was grabbed by the Anbu members and forced out of the meeting room. Uchiha Kusunoki, you're pushing Konoha to its doom. Uchiha Kusunoki, you'll regret this. Uchiha Mito was being held captive, but unable to force his way into the meeting room. He could only yell at Uchiha Kusunoki. Shut up, Uzumaki Mito. I'm the Hokage, Uchiha Kusunoki blurted out, as if it were destined. Oh no, I'm Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Kusunoki lamented the unpredictable nature of life. Such a damn famous scene could be repeated. Could it be that the Naruto world is undergoing a timeline correction? Uchiha Kusunoki rubbed his brows, clearing his mind of the chaotic thoughts. Anyone who tries to stand in my way of making a fortune is my enemy. I don't have the patience to listen to bullshit like this is risky. I want to make money now. What's the point of just envying the daimyo? I need to take action and become richer than them. Uchiha Non couldn't survive a single day of worrying about money. Fortunes are sought through risk, and this is a surefire way to make money. After Uzumaki Mito was invited out by the Anbu, Uchiha Non glanced around the room with a gloomy face, then slowly said, anyone else has any objections? Everyone present was silent. They had seen what happened to Uzumaki Mito just now. They didn't have Uzumaki Mito's status, and speaking out against it would probably result in them being sent straight to the Anbu. That's settled, all Konoha matters are on hold. Let's focus on the upcoming war and the future's plan. We'll make all the necessary preparations for the battle. Uchiha Tomita, I'll leave the battle mobilization to you. Keep it secret for now. I'll be very useful to you, Luohan. I'll leave the future's plan to you to help me implement it. Today's meeting is top secret. No one can leak it. Uchiha Kusunoki issued orders, exercising the authority of the Hokage. In wartime, the Hokage's words are military orders, undisobeyed. Dismissed, the meeting ended in a gloomy atmosphere. Everyone present was in low spirits. Because of the impending war. Because of the impending financial losses. And more importantly, because of Uchiha Kusunoki's unreliable futures plan. Konoha was doomed. In the Senju clan's territory, Senju Momoma, after the meeting, returned to his room alone and even hummed a little tune. He was in a good mood today. Uchiha Kusunoki asked his mother, Uzumaki Mito, to leave the meeting room. He appeared indignant, but in reality, he was eager to see her go. Because he knew his mother, Mito Uzumaki, was right. Uchiha Kusunoki's rubbish futures plan was complete rubbish. Was that what a ninja was supposed to do? If Uchiha Kusunoki failed, he would immediately rally the rest of the ninja clan to impeach him and remove him from the Hokage position. Could Uchiha Kusunoki, no matter how powerful he was, truly be able to defeat the entirety of Konoha on his own? No kidding. The Uchiha clan was nothing more than a bunch of reckless men. Chapter 70 Treat, behead, except as a dog. In the Hokage's office, Uchiha Kusunoki sat in a chair, feeling a little exhausted. The ninjas of Konoha were still too rigid in their thinking. Missions, how much money could they make from missions? Working themselves to death for an S-rank mission only yielded a few million ryo, or even just over a million ryo. Was that the kind of work a cage-level warrior should be doing? Sit down, why are you all just standing there? Uchiha Kusunoki looked at Uchiha Tomita and Nara Shikeon, who stood like minions in front of him. Only after Uchiha Kusunoki finished speaking did the two of them sit down with peace of mind. Compared to Nara Shikeon, Uchiha Tomita seemed a little uneasy. His position just now was a bit precarious. He hesitated at the critical moment. If loyalty wasn't absolute, then it was definitely disloyalty. However, Uchiha Kusunoki didn't argue with him too much. He still trusted Uchiha Tomita. His ideas were indeed very advanced for the time, and it was normal for ninjas who only cared about fighting and killing to not understand. Uchiha Kusunoki assigned Uchiha Tomita to prepare the war mobilization plan while he discussed the futures plan with Nara Shikeon. Uchiha Kusunoki wanted to focus on the futures plan. Nara Shikeon was a brilliant man, and with his help, he shouldn't have any major problems. Shikeon, what do you think of my pig iron futures plan? Nara Shikeon pondered for a moment. While he didn't understand why Uchiha Kusunoki was so convinced of futures, he had already joined Uchiha Kusunoki since accepting the position of Hokage's assistant, so he could only offer his best advice. Hokage-sama, I roughly understand the concept of futures you're talking about. Now, a crucial issue is solving the platform problem. Big merchants and nobles all have their own sales channels for their pig iron businesses. It's not easy to integrate these channels and put them all on the futures platform you're talking about. There are too many interests involved. Relying solely on Konoha's capabilities isn't enough. We'll need the help of the daimyo. I see, Uchiha Kusunoki nodded. The platform was indeed a major issue, even though it facilitated the profitability of futures trading. The big businessmen and nobles weren't fools. This platform, capable of rapidly trading pig iron without requiring physical trading, would represent enormous profits once established. Why should Konoha be entrusted with it? The guarantee contract could easily be outsourced to the ninja village. If these scoundrels could figure out the key points, they would absolutely abandon Konoha and do it themselves, then reap the benefits of the ninja world. Then go talk to the daimyo. I'll leave this matter to you and Hinata Takuma. I only care about the results, not the process. Leave immediately. Uchiha Kusunoki's eyes gleamed with ferocity. Anyone who dared to stand in his way of making money would die. Yes, Hokage. Nara Shikeon swallowed, clearly overwhelmed by Uchiha Kusunoki's determination. Channel integration sounds simple, but the complex web of interests involved entangles countless people. Nara Shikeon, feeling uneasy, approached Hinata Takuma and then set off on a nightly journey to the Fire Nation's capital to meet with a daimyo. In the reception hall of the Fire Nation capital, Nara Shikeon and Hinata Takuma quickly met the daimyo. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Nara Shikeon explained his purpose. Futures? What a remarkable idea. The daimyo was a little surprised that Uchiha Kusunoki had a business acumen. He showed no concern for the impending ninja world war. He wasn't a ninja, so war was of little concern to him. He was only concerned with whether this futures business could actually be profitable. Honestly, he was short on cash. His ministers and nobles were dishonest, devising various ways to evade taxes, all while profiting from his own gains. Daimyo, Konoha is facing another major war. The funds previously allocated will likely need to be reimbursed, and you'll need to supplement them, Hinata Takuma said, noticing the daimyo's hesitation. More money? The daimyo was a little uneasy. He had just given a large sum, and Konoha's wounds hadn't healed, so the next round of funding was likely to increase. This really touched the daimyo's sore spot. The Fire Nation isn't wealthy either. You know how restless their subordinates are. One or two of them don't pay taxes, their accounts are a mess, and they simply don't take me, the daimyo, seriously. The Fire Nation daimyo instinctively began to complain. He really didn't have any money. He'd already paid for this year's budget, and had given Konoha a large sum to appease them for reconstruction. He really couldn't afford another. So Konoha wants to open up a new source of revenue to alleviate your pressure, daimyo. The most important thing about the futures business is insider information and guarantees. You should trust Konoha's capabilities in this regard. In the future, this will definitely be one of the most profitable businesses in the ninja world. Konoha can share information with you, daimyo. I believe you're also aware of the greed of those merchants and nobles in the pig iron business. They're definitely behind us in terms of intelligence. The daimyo's eyes lit up. He had long disliked those greedy merchants and nobles. They relied on the protection of powerful figures to sometimes even deceive him. They had already killed many people, but their greed couldn't be curbed. Nara Shikeon, sensing the daimyo's intentions, immediately stepped forward and said, "Daimyo-sama, Hokage-sama takes this matter very seriously. He specifically reminded me before coming here that we only care about the outcome, not the process." Nara Shikeon had already discussed this with Hinata Takuma beforehand. One would play the good cop, the other the bad cop. Now it was time for him to force the daimyo to make up his mind. Is that so? The daimyo felt a pang of sympathy. The memory of Uchiha Kusunoki's divine might in the arena flooded his mind, the greed of his subordinates irritated him, and the lucrative nature of this deal had spurred a daimyo's resolve. Damn it. Let's do it. Since Hokage-sama values this deal so much, I have to give him some respect. His subordinates certainly need to be disciplined, so I agree. However, the implications are so complex that even with my support, it would be very difficult. The daimyo spoke frankly. After all, this was an agricultural nation, with its own unique characteristics of the ninja world. Such a large country was full of problems, and some things were simply beyond his reach, and he truly couldn't manage them all. I understand, daimyo-sama. You just need to make your position clear, and Konoha will handle the rest, Hinata Takuma said respectfully, unable to conceal his excitement. With just the daimyo's nod, the matter was halfway settled. Konoha was truly adept at the rest. Treat them to a meal, behead them, accept them as dogs. If they obey, you can even stutter. If they disobey, they can simply die. With a daimyo's reputation, they could legitimately send them to see the Sage of Six Paths. Chapter 71, Can you make a lot of money from Kakuzu futures? I have to find out. Hokage-sama, this is the war preparation plan. If there are no issues, you may sign and execute it. Inside the office, Uchiha Tomita respectfully handed Uchiha Kusunoki Konoha's war plan to him. Uchiha Kusunoki glanced through it, unconcerned with the specific measures. The war had been going on for so long that his subordinates had become incredibly skilled at crafting war plans, all largely the same. Uchiha Kusunoki was solely concerned with the cost. War was a waste of money, and with money, one could flaunt it and fight as long as one pleased. 4.5 billion ryo, Uchiha Kusunoki sighed. Although prepared, he was still astonished. This was only the initial preparations. The most dreadful thing was the war of attrition, the most grueling. It cost lives, and the money was still burning through. Fortunately, this war wouldn't last long. Uchiha Kusunoki signed his name, and Konoha's treasury could begin to disperse the funds. Unaware of the progress of Nara Shikeon and Hinata Takuma's plan, Uchiha Minami had been unable to eat or sleep well for the past few days, eagerly awaiting good news from them. Uchiha Minami's anxiety didn't last long before an Anbu ninja arrived with a letter from Nara Shikeon. Everything was going smoothly, the daimyo had agreed, and all that remained was execution. Nara Shikeon requested the dispatch of a team of Anbu ninja to help, as there might be a lot of people to kill soon. Uchiha Minami naturally agreed. Sending Anbu ninja would be a bit of a waste of talent, dealing with ordinary people who simply possessed power. What was power in the face of violence? With the daimyo's approval, killing them was justified. For over a month, Uchiha Minami and Nara Shikeon exchanged letters, updating him on progress. Nara Shikeon only reported good news, not bad news, and his letters didn't detail the difficult parts, but Uchiha Minami still grasped the complexity of the situation. The network of relationships between those nobles and merchants was too complicated. Anyone who could handle such a big business as pig iron would have some skills. Some nobles even brought up the Uchiha name, saying that they were old customers of the Uchiha clan and had a good relationship with the Uchiha clan, hoping to use the Uchiha clan's reputation to refuse to execute the order. In order to ensure that nothing unexpected happened, Nara Shikeon even asked Uchiha Non for instructions. Uchiha Non had the same thing to say about such people, only the result matters, not the process. Then Nara Shikeon understood, and started killing. Killing was of course a helpless choice. If a peaceful solution could be found, it should be solved peacefully. Everyone's goal was to make money, and there was no need to make a mess of blood. Otherwise, Uchiha Non would not have sent Hinata Takuma over. Their family was very patient and good at socializing. They had good relationships with the nobles and big businessmen of the Land of Fire, and most of them would give Hinata Takuma a face. After all, pig iron futures offer no real downside. They could significantly speed up the pig iron trade, provide price transparency, and reduce the number of middlemen seeking to profit from information asymmetry. However, some are always blind. No wonder Narashikeon was so ruthless, sending each of them a shuriken to meet the Sage of Six Paths. Some merchants, fearless of death, even hired bounty hunters to target Narashikeon and Hinata Takuma. For such stubborn individuals, not only would they perish, but their entire families would be annihilated. After over a month of extremely complex and painful negotiations and sabotage, Narashikeon and Hinata Takuma finally consolidated all channels within the Land of Fire. There was even a trend towards standardizing pig iron prices within the Land of Fire, which was a pleasant surprise to Uchiha Kusunoki. However, Uchiha Kusunoki wasn't content to stop there. He wanted to do more, to pave the way for the future. The Land of Iron was one of the largest sources of iron ore in the ninja world, occupying nearly 3/4 of the total. Uchiha Kusunoki planned to extend his reach into the Land of Iron. However, Narashikeon poured cold water on Uchiha Nan's idea, saying that it was too far away. Although integrating channels in the Land of Fire was a bit difficult and tedious, with the endorsement of the daimyo, everything was legal and the ninjas could carry it out with justification. If it was a cross-border operation, it would involve diplomacy. It was not realistic for Konoha's ninjas to kill people at will in the Land of Iron, and the daimyo would not support it. Uchiha Nan expressed deep regret for this, but did not give up. If the military tactics didn't work, he would try the literary tactics. He could invite them to join the channels of the Land of Fire. The Land of Fire was the richest country in the ninja world, and they would not give up such a large market. When they arrived in the territory of the Land of Fire, they had to follow the rules of the Land of Fire. Uchiha Nan sat in the Hokage's office and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The preparations had been completed. Just wait for the attack from the Hidden Mist and Hidden Rock villages, but it's likely to take some time. A war between major ninja villages isn't something that can be started on a whim. It involves massive mobilization, intelligence gathering, and the procurement of supplies. Spies planted in both villages relay messages daily. The ninja world has numerous secret techniques for transmitting messages, the most prominent of which is the use of summoning beasts, which allows for the fastest possible transmission of information. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. In a certain money exchange in the Land of Fire, there's a mix of all sorts of people, renegade ninja, down-and-out samurai, thieves, everything. A strange-looking middle-aged man, dressed entirely in black, with a line of sutures on his bare arm and dark green pupils, walked in, carrying a dead head. His entrance hushed the once noisy exchange, fearing he might anger them and bring about their own demise. With a thud, he tossed a head onto the counter of the money exchange, splattering the remaining blood onto the face of the person in charge. However, the once ferocious officer put on a smile. "Kakuzu-sama, another mission accomplished. You're truly worthy of being the renowned bounty hunter of the ninja world. Here's the money." Kakuzu ignored the person in charge's compliments. He just wanted to get his reward. Alright, the person in charge quickly verified the head and, after confirming it was the target, quickly gave it to Kakuzu to exchange for the bounty. 6 large boxes of banknotes were brought to the table and placed before Kakuzu. Kakuzu opened one of them, revealing a box overflowing with 100,000 ryo. This mission wasn't difficult. It involved a minor noble, protected by a few chunin and a special jonin. It was a piece of cake for him. How fragrant! Kakuzu took a note and took a deep breath, savoring it carefully before exclaiming in admiration. In this world, money is the most beautiful and trustworthy thing. Kakuzu collected the money and accepted another bounty, hoping to earn more money. After leaving the exchange, he went to the weapon shop as usual, intending to sell the weapons of the slain ninjas. Corpse scanning was a good habit. As a newbie, he had plenty of stationery, including shurikens, kunai, and even detonating tags, which could fetch tens of thousands of ryo. Kakuzu lamented his own wisdom in making money and managing his household. Have you heard? The pig iron business in the Land of Fire has been shaken up. The bigwigs have launched a futures business. That's great. The prices are transparent, and it'll be easier for us to buy in. That's too small. Those merchants who originally planned to hoard pig iron to speculate on the price are now speculating in futures. Well, so what? Now that Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village have signed a peace agreement, the two most powerful ninja villages have stopped fighting, and the price of pig iron has plummeted 2 or 3 times. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think so. There's a lot of potential in speculating in futures. You can definitely make a lot of money, the customers and the owner of the weapon shop chatted casually. With Konoha and the Land of Fire joining forces, pig iron futures had spread throughout the industry, and exchanges responsible for trading these futures had sprung up all over the Land of Fire. Kakuzu bargained with the weapon shop's waiter, trying to raise the price. The owners of used goods were always trying to lower the price. What a shady businessman. What are pig iron futures? Kakuzu had never heard the term before. As a ninja, he'd inevitably come into contact with weapons, so he was familiar with pig iron. However, Kakuzu initially dismissed it. With his strength, he generally didn't need weapons like kunai and shurikens, believing them to be a waste of money. Originally, Kakuzu hadn't been particularly interested in pig iron futures, but at the mention of making a fortune, his eyes lit up. Chapter 72 Kakuzu, if this thing can make money, I will jump off the building immediately. Futures Trading Building. Kakuzu arrived at a small, 3-story building. It had originally been a restaurant, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, it was sold overnight. It now had a new name, Ninja World Finance, a concise and expressive one. A leaf logo adorned the back of the sign, but it didn't catch Kakuzu's attention. Kakuzu pushed open the door and was greeted by a massive screen charting the price of pig iron over the past 2 years. The most recent was a steep decline, coinciding with the signing of the peace agreement between Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village. The first-floor lobby was bustling with people, mostly traders, conducting both spot and futures transactions. For spot transactions, they simply approached the staff and paid the current price. For other transactions, a dedicated staff member would provide the pig iron. This made everything incredibly convenient, eliminating the need to visit individual pig iron merchants. While pig iron prices were generally consistent across the Land of Fire, there were always some variations. Now that Konoha and the Land of Fire daimyo were jointly controlling production and unifying shipments, prices were becoming transparent, even officially setting prices. Uchiha Kusunoki was pleased. This was exactly what he'd been looking for. Kakuzu wasn't interested in spot trading. He was a ninja, a top-tier bounty hunter, working 365 days a year and making money very efficiently. Even business could lose money, not like him, who was operating with no capital. Kakuzu had wasted precious work time today mainly to see what futures trading was like. If it really was profitable, he wouldn't mind giving it a try. Welcome to visit next time. Kakuzu watched as a well-dressed merchant handed several boxes stuffed with banknotes to the staff, then exchanged them for several beautifully crafted slips of paper. These cards served as vouchers for futures transactions, specially crafted with anti-counterfeiting markings. The method, developed overnight by the ninja master Tobirama Senju, made them extremely difficult to forge. A few boxes of money for a few cards? The scene before him shattered Kakuzu's worldview. He rushed to the attendant, intent on demanding an explanation. After the attendant's explanation, Kakuzu's eyes betrayed disdain. That's it. He'd thought futures were so sophisticated. It was nothing more than a bet on the future price of pig iron. Who could predict the future? What if he bought now and the price of pig iron dropped? Would all his hard-earned money be gone? What a waste of time. If I could make money with this, I'd jump from the building. Besides, the price of pig iron is still slowly falling. The wars of the past few years have inflated it considerably. Boring. Kakuzu shook his head, preparing to leave the trading hall to continue his bounty mission. A white-haired young man, dressed in lavish attire, looked like the son of a wealthy family. Following him came 4 or 5 bodyguards wearing Konoha dog tags, each carrying a suitcase filled with money. Buy when no one is interested, sell when the crowds are bustling. The future Konoha White Fang began to chant a catchy rhyme, instantly capturing everyone's attention upon his arrival. He'd hired Konoha ninjas with such fanfare as bodyguards. Who in the Land of Fire might he be? Everyone in the trading hall silently speculated on White Fang's identity. Buy all, watching White Fang's actions. Another phrase flashed through their minds, the landlord's foolish son. As soon as pig iron futures were introduced, speculators were already buying and selling, each suffering horrific losses. The price of pig iron in the Land of Fire had recently plummeted by another 60,000 taels. The trading hall even displayed the nicknames of the top 100 futures buyers, along with their returns. Who among those who bought in bulk didn't see negative returns? Yet, some persisted, increasing their holdings, earning them the derision of being taken advantage of. The missions with Iwakage and Kurigakure were top secret, and their distance from the Fire Nation was considerable. Consequently, the price of pig iron in the Fire Nation had been slowly declining. Uchiha Kusunoki had been slowly increasing his holdings, now holding 300 to 400 million and still adding to his holdings. The daimyo, a bit impatient, had already invested 1 billion all at once, nearly driving the price up. Uchiha Kusunoki even wrote to the daimyo, urging him to buy slowly and open multiple accounts. A large sell-off by major investors on the future rankings would cause panic. What are you looking at, you bunch of idiots? I'm investing in the future. White Fang, sensing the idiot looks, immediately spoke with a domineering expression, while internally he chuckled bitterly. This was simply the Hokage's mission. To ensure the future of futures trading soared, Uchiha Kusunoki decided to create a pig on the wind, a futures investment genius who would attract countless leaks to the market. Stories of overnight wealth always spark endless fascination, and gamblers love them. However, considering this is a scam, driving up pig iron prices to lure investors into the market at a higher price, when the price collapses, the Fire Country will likely witness countless high-flying stunts, and the experts will likely suffer a horrific end. Uchiha entrusted this glorious yet arduous task to the Hokage clan's prodigy, Hokage White Fang. Of similar age to Uchiha, White Fang possesses exceptional strength, having already reached the level of an elite Chunin. With a little practice, he could battle cage-level warriors. Of course, this wasn't in vain. Uchiha gave White Fang a startup capital of 10 million ryo, and all profits would belong to him. It's just a matter of being born into a good family, Kakuzu said disdainfully as he walked away, unconcerned with the wealthy young man's status. Just being born rich, is that any wonder? That's the kind of person I, Kakuzu, despise the most. His voice was low, but everyone present could hear. What did you say? You'll regret this in the future. Pig iron prices will skyrocket, given the reversal of the economic cycle and the Fire Nation's macroeconomic policies. The government will definitely. White Fang recited the manuscript given to him by the Fire Nation's Minister of Finance. His years of handling state affairs and his skill in accounting made it easy for him to fabricate a story about pig iron prices rising. White Fang's analysis ranged from great power competition to ninja wars, from market sentiment to the economy of ordinary people, leaving Kakuzu stunned. Ninjas generally had a low level of education, most didn't even finish elementary school before they started killing people. Being able to read and understand mission instructions was enough. Could reading really tell a Jounin's strength? White Fang's analysis, like a tongue twister, sounded plausible, but it was actually nonsense. However, the manuscript, written by a professional, was convincing enough to be true. Although they couldn't understand what White Fang was saying, the technical terms, economic cycles, and government regulation, were thrown out one after another, and everyone was already half convinced. Professional. Could pig iron prices really be rising? HMPH, I don't understand what you're saying. Kakuzu sensed intellectual discrimination. He didn't understand anything White Fang said, yet he felt he was quite professional. However, Kakuzu had no intention of getting involved in futures trading just yet. He firmly believed that nothing comes easy, and if he could get rich, he had to do it secretly. He didn't believe there was such a person who would not bring his brothers along with him, and then publicly announce it. Then we'll see. You'll regret it, HMPH, I see you losing everything, but Kakuzu wasn't about to concede defeat. With that, he left the hall to continue his bounty hunting. White Fang curled his lips and was led by the staff to the third floor, an area reserved for wealthy investors. However, after White Fang's analysis, only a handful of people had actually bought pig iron futures, while the rest remained on the sidelines. Buying at the bottom is hesitant, while chasing the rise with unlimited ammunition. The same pattern applies in every world. Chapter 73 Kakuzu, oh no, did I miss something? More than 10 days passed. Damn it, every one of these ninjas is disgusting me. Uchiha angrily slammed his desk in his office. The news that the daimyo had gifted him Kite and Suzu had suddenly spread throughout Konoha. It was obvious that it was the work of those ninjas in the village. They had just temporarily suspended the distribution of over 10 billion ryo, not that they would not give it. Disgusting, disgusting. Uchiha felt that his integrity had been completely lost. Although it was inevitable, the day had finally come. Uchiha felt that he still had some dignity to maintain, but he couldn't refute anything. The twins were indeed very smooth. The combat meetings in the past few days had not been going well for Uchiha. The Senju clan was always looking for trouble, intentionally or unintentionally, but Uchiha ignored them. Suddenly, Uchiha Tomita pushed the door open and handed him an urgent intelligence report. After reading it word by word, Uchiha's anxious mood improved a little. The Hidden Mist and Hidden Rock villages will declare war on Konoha in a month. The second Tsuchikage, Mu, and the second Mizukage, Hozuki Jinjetsu, are truly in sync, even choosing the exact same date for their attacks. If Uchiha Kusunoki hadn't known that Tsuchikage, Mu, and Hozuki Jinjetsu are sworn enemies, he would have thought they'd planned a joint attack on Konoha. Tsuchikage, Mu, was wrapped like a mummy, burned by Hozuki Jinjetsu's powerful, steaming power. He'd have to live his whole life wrapped in bandages infused with special medicine. Whenever they met, they'd fight, all kinds of vendettas. If that were the case, the futures market couldn't absorb the slow pace of supply, it needed to start a gradual rally. Uchiha Kusunoki showed him the data report, showing that over 4 billion taels of pig iron had already been slowly purchased. The daimyo, even more greedy than himself, had already taken over 4 billion taels. The initially falling pig iron price had been sideways for a while. Next, it was time to slowly manipulate the market, gradually luring the leaks into the trap. Uchiha smiled. After so much preparation, the harvest was finally here. A few days later, at the gold exchange, Kakuzu spent over 20 days completing another bounty hunt, bringing heads in exchange for the bounty. This time, the task was easy, with a bounty only a little over 200,000 ryo, but Kakuzu didn't mind. Missions with high bounties and low difficulty weren't easy to come by, and he wasn't the only bounty hunter in the ninja world. Missions with high difficulty and high bounties were also extremely difficult to complete. Even a careless mistake could result in a failure, a heart loss, and a desperate escape. These missions, with reasonable prices and moderate difficulty, were Kakuzu's preferred option. Leaving the gold exchange, he went to the weapon shop as usual to sell a batch of used weapons. Hearing the owner continue to discuss pig iron futures, Kakuzu suddenly remembered the little white-haired and white-fanged man he had met before. That guy must have lost a lot of money. Kakuzu took the money and counted it one by one, enjoying the touch of the bills. As a person, you should be more practical. Speculation is a taboo. Go take a look? Kakuzu hadn't wanted to waste time on such things, but thinking of White Fang's extremely professional analysis that day, he started to itch. Instinctively thinking it would be a good idea to take a look. Let's take a look, it won't take long anyway, Kakuzu convinced himself, and approached the trading hall. Upon reaching the door, Kakuzu was surprised to find that there seemed to be significantly more people here than before. Investment has its rules. Everything in the market is manipulated by a giant behind the scenes called the market economy. The same is true for futures trading. White Fang sat at a table in the first floor hall, exclaiming. These were words Uchiha had taught him, words he'd heard countless times during his stock trading days in a previous life. A crowd had already gathered around White Fang, listening to his words. Driven by funds from Uchiha and the daimyo, the price of pig iron had been slowly rising. Not only had it returned to its previous level of 630,000 taels per ton, it had soared to 810,000 taels per ton, a full 30% increase. Those who had the audacity to buy the dip earlier have already lost money. A look of reverence crossed everyone's faces. White Fang's words made perfect sense. Even if they didn't understand, they still felt they had a point. Because practice had proven White Fang's theory correct, the price of pig iron had indeed rebounded. What's going on? Why are so many people gathered? Kakuzu hadn't yet grasped the situation. He only saw a group of people surrounding the white-haired kid, muttering abstruse and profound phrases that sounded so profound that even Kakuzu, with his limited knowledge, couldn't understand them at all. However, the crowd was fascinated, nodding from time to time, as if they truly understood. Look, this is an expert. His analysis is so thorough. Do you understand? I think so. Then why don't you buy futures? I'll wait and see. The audience were no children. They were well versed in the price of pig iron. It fluctuated wildly. A ninja war would send the price skyrocketing. A mere threefold increase wasn't worth a risk. It might fall back down overnight. But that didn't stop them from agreeing with White Fang's theory, because he'd really made money. "Kid," Kokuzu made his way through the crowd to White Fang, greeting him sternly. "It's you. How did you find the time to come here? Are you regretting not listening to me?" White Fang's face was filled with excitement, and this time his expression was genuine. He wasn't pretending. He'd previously invested 10 million ryo in one go, and the slow decline had left him feeling uneasy. Although the Hokage had told him it was a guaranteed win, it was still such a large sum of money. A single point drop meant 100,000 ryo, a loss that was heartbreaking and choking. But now it was different. His account had turned a profit, rising 3 levels, earning him 3 million. That was equivalent to a high-level S-rank mission. S-rank missions could take anywhere from a month to 3 to 5 months, and could even involve life-threatening situations. Yet, he'd been drinking tea in the VIP room these past few days, and the money had arrived effortlessly. He'd made money so quickly he couldn't believe it. "What are you regretting? How much did you make?" Kokuzu realized the guy was just showing off his wealth, but he didn't care. Having roamed the ninja world for so many years, Kokuzu had seen money before. How much could you make from futures trading? He could just move his body, kill a few minor figures, and pocket a little over 200,000 ryo. Not much, just 3 million ryo in just over 20 days. "How much? How much did you say?" Kokuzu couldn't believe his ears, suspecting he'd misheard. 3 million ryo, is that a lot? You've never seen the world. White Fang's face was filled with arrogance. The easy money had subtly distorted his perspective on money, even his humble nature had taken a slight turn. Kokuzu's eyes widened, and his dark green pupils suddenly shrank. "Oh no, did I miss the chance to make a fortune? This kid really made money. Brothers, if you can avoid stocks, futures, and currency circles, don't touch them. Without insider information, even if you can make money with temporary luck, you will eventually lose everything." Woohoo! The same groups were Konoha, Uchiha Shisu's Military Advisors Alliance. Chapter 74 The Path to Salvation Lies Within. A crackling sound of electricity crackled in Kokuzu's ears, and in that moment, he was lost. All those years of diligently earning money through bounty hunting missions seemed absurd. Could this money-making game really be played like this? Was it just this little white-haired kid in front of him, or were they all doing it together? But that didn't matter anymore. "Master, please teach me. This is practically making money without doing anything. Learning is essential." "Kid, no, sir, can you teach me?" Kokuzu's hoarse voice trembled. This was the first time he'd asked a kid for help in front of so many people. His pitiful pride was still playing tricks on him, but Kokuzu ignored it. How much could pride fetch? If it was worth something, Kokuzu would have sold it all. Besides, he was using it to withdraw cash. "You want to learn futures trading from me?" White Fang was surprised. He knew nothing about futures trading. He'd been operating under the guidance of Hokage Uchiha Kusunoki. But White Fang remained calm. Hokage had already prepared him thoroughly. How could a skilled expert not have a few apprentices and a group of loyal followers? "Yes," Kokuzu said sincerely, his gaze blazing at White Fang. He insisted on learning such a money-making technique. White Fang pulled out a booklet filled with the stock market insights of Uchiha Nin's past life. If one could master it, they could become a qualified stock investor. There were no secrets to stock trading, only insiders and market makers could profit. The path to salvation lies within. White Fang handed the booklet to Kokuzu. Inscribed in golden letters, "From zero to stock market master." With that, White Fang left his seat and departed gracefully under the gaze of the crowd. The Hokage had instructed that one should maintain the image of the master, occasionally speaking from a script, and even more so, maintaining a sense of mystery when accepting apprentices and passing on secrets. Only by saying something incomprehensible would people consider you a master. That sentence was taught by the Hokage, saying it must be said when handing out a booklet. White Fang didn't understand why, but since it was the Hokage's order, there must be a deeper meaning behind it. Kokuzu took the booklet and watched White Fang leave, specifically asking, "Please leave your name, sir, just call me White Fang." Kokuzu felt a surge of admiration. He felt like he had met a master, having obtained the secret manual so easily. The knowledge monopoly in the ninja world was severe these days. To learn real skills, one had to either be born into a wealthy family or join an organization like a ninja village and work for them. Kokuzu eagerly opened the book, and the crowd gathered around him, eager to learn what White Fang had written. The so-called investment is to take what others discard. Everyone else died, but I survived. Kokuzu had just turned a page, about to read it carefully, when he noticed a group of people surrounding him and immediately closed the book. This was the secret manual given to him by Master White Fang. Could you get it for free? If you've all learned it, how can I make any money? Get out of here, Kokuzu erupted with murderous intent, and the temperature in the hall seemed to drop significantly. The unbridled murderous aura emanated, causing everyone around him to disperse immediately. A sense of mortal danger chilled them. Compared to money, life was clearly more important. Besides, even if you learned advanced secrets, it didn't guarantee you'd master them all. The Rabbit Kingdom's road to heaven, advanced mathematics, physics, chemistry, all kinds of knowledge were free, but how many people could truly learn them? Seeing everyone else leave, Kokuzu nodded with satisfaction and found a seat in the service hall to peruse the booklet. The contents were truly insightful. Kokuzu nodded as he read, deeply convinced of the leak theory. No wonder Mr. White Fang was so profitable. The Hokage's office, unlike before, the office now had a long sofa. Uchiha Kusunoki rested his head on Keith's thigh, her smooth, white thigh cool and wonderful to the touch. Fang's delicate hands were massaging Uchiha Nan's head as Ling peeled grapes and fed them to him. Extravagance, truly extravagance. Uchiha Nan had given up on his moral composure. The whole village knew about Feng and Ling, so why bother pretending? He simply brought them to the office and made them his secretary. It saved them from being bored at home, and they could spend their evenings luxuriating in his intimacy. At first, Uchiha Nan had enjoyed it immensely, but over time, it became a bit of a hell. The lack of hardware was truly depressing. Knock, knock, knock. A knock on the door interrupted Uchiha Nan's enjoyment. Reluctantly, he rose. After all, it was still work hours, and as Hokage, he couldn't slack off in front of his subordinates. Uchiha Nan adjusted his clothes and called in. Uchiha Tomita entered, an urgent report in hand. Upon entering, he saw Feng and Ling and frowned. They were both locked in broad daylight, with two beautiful women inside. Hokage-sama, you can't be so careless. Uchiha Tomita didn't say anything, however. This was the boss's personal matter, not something a subordinate like him could interfere with. Feng, Ling, you two leave for a moment. Uchiha Nan saw Uchiha Tomita's anxious expression and knew something must be amiss on the front lines. He had important intelligence to discuss. With that, Feng and Ling tactfully left, leaving Uchiha Nan and Uchiha Tomita in the room. There's an urgent military situation in Kirigakure. Uchiha Nan's heart skipped a beat. How could Kirigakure have such a problem when the attack wasn't even due? Tell me the details. Kirigakure and the Uzumaki ninja have already engaged. Uchiha Tomita detailed the situation. Kirigakure is an isolated island nation, akin to the troublemaker decaying on Blue Star. However, it's clear that Kirigakure isn't destined to be decaying. It lacks the strength to execute a continental balancing strategy. This time, the planned surprise attack on Konoha was secretly deployed, but somehow, Konoha's close ally, the Whirlpool country, discovered it. The Uzumaki of the Whirlpool village led the Uzumaki ninja in a direct raid on Kirigakure's harbor, aiming to burn the Kirigakure's warships. Without even a word of hello, they truly were Konoha's close ally. The Whirlpool country is a small nation, and the Uzumaki village even smaller. While the Uzumaki clan possesses some strength, facing a larger village like the Kirigakure is like an egg against a stone. Normally, a small ninja village would be too vulnerable to avoid such an attack. For example, the Grass Country, nestled between Konoha, Sunagakure, and the future sixth largest ninja village, the Rain Village, would side with whoever was stronger, a true fence-sitter. However, in the original novel, Konoha was a bit more rude, a close friend, even if things went wrong. This surprise attack likely sowed the seeds of the Uzumaki clan's annihilation. Chapter 75 I can't beat the foreigners, but I can beat you? When will we send reinforcements to the Whirlpool country? Uchiha Tomita naturally assumed Konoha should send troops to support the Whirlpool country. With their number one underling so loyally charging forward, Konoha, as the leader, couldn't afford to be a slouch. Although the Uzumaki clan and the Senju clan were on good terms, and Konoha's Hokage had been replaced by an Uchiha, the Uchiha wouldn't take advantage of someone's misfortune. If they could actually let the Uzumaki clan shed their last drop of blood for Konoha, with Konoha watching from the sidelines, would Konoha still be considered human? Uchiha Kusunoki remained calm, pondering how to deal with the Uzumaki clan. Exterminating the Uzumaki clan as in the original story was certainly not an option, Uchiha Kusunoki had too much dignity to do such a shameless thing. However, the Uzumaki clan and Konoha had such a close relationship, practically fraternizing, that a merger would be better. After all, Konoha's territory was vast, and the surrounding lands were Konoha's, making it more than enough for the Uzumaki clan. However, this matter needed to be prepared slowly. There was no rush. Let the bullets fly for a while. The Uzumaki clan won't lie down so easily. They must have something to rely on if they dare to attack. Send a team over to survey the situation first. If they can't hold on, be ready to support them. Adding icing on the cake is no greater favor than helping someone in need. Uchiha Kusunoki wouldn't rush into a deal. He'd have to wait for the Uzumaki clan to ask for his help first. Uchiha Tomita nodded and prepared his battle plan according to Kusunoki's instructions. After Uchiha Kusunoki left, he planned to immediately notify Narashikado, who was still in the Land of Fire, that the future's plan would need to be accelerated. Fighting had already broken out in the Hidden Mist village, and the price of pig iron was likely to double or triple. So far, Uchiha Kusunoki had invested just over 5 billion, apart from the 4 billion he'd initially bought at a low price and the 7 or 8 billion he'd slowly invested later. This time, he was profiting from the Fireland nobles and wealthy businessmen. The more he invested, the more he earned. News of the exchange of fire would reach the Land of Fire in a day or two at most. Those merchants and nobles would undoubtedly drive up the price like a hungry wolf. Uchiha couldn't give them this opportunity. He had to manipulate the market in advance, letting them grab the high-priced ships. Kirigakure battlefield, Hazuki Gonjetsu looked at the devastated harbor, his teeth clenched in frustration. His carefully planned assault had been ruined. Those damned Uzumaki clan, taking advantage of the night, approached the harbor where the Kirigakure warships were located in small boats, each one carrying explosive tags and kerosene. Upon seeing the ships, they charged onto them, transforming into self-destructing infantry. Kirigakure reacted quickly, rushing to stop them, but upon attacking the Uzumaki ninja, they turned to smoke. Damn, they were all clones. The clones had made such a long journey to Kirigakure, yet they didn't even disappear due to chakra depletion. The Uzumaki clan had too much chakra. The Uzumaki clan had mastered Senju Tobirama's multiple shadow clone technique, a technique perfectly suited to them. Their clear goal was to attack the warships. After all, the demise of a clone would only carry a portion of the damage back to the main body. The Uzumaki clan had thick health, so even a single explosion wouldn't suffice. The Uzumaki clan had a methodical way of seeking their own demise, and they'd actually provoke the Kirigakure clan. "How's the salvaging of the warships going?" Hazuki Genjutsu asked the Kirigakure ninjas nearby. This mattered deeply with the larger plan of assaulting Konoha. Money, men, and supplies were nearly ready, and the arrow was on the string. They couldn't give up because of this minor incident. The Uzumaki nin's tactics were despicable. "We were caught off guard. 4 floors of the warships were burned. Repairs will take time. Repair the warships at all costs. The opportunity has been lost, and we can't afford to delay any further." Hazuki Genjutsu, clutching his head, issued an order. Repairing these ships would cost a considerable amount of money, and there was a way to expedite the repairs: more money. Now that the money has been paid, the speed of repairing the ship will increase. "Boss, do you want to retaliate? The tiny whirlpool nation dares to challenge us, Kirigakure. It's a life or death struggle." Biwajuzo, carrying a beheading sword, spoke with resentment. As an elite warrior carefully selected by Hazuki Genjutsu, he had acquired the beheading sword and the title of the 7 Ninja Swordsman. This attack on Konoha was intended to establish his reputation and achieve great success. Before even reaching Konoha village, he was ambushed and suffered heavy losses. This rookie was deeply dissatisfied. "Yes, boss, we can't let this go. I'm going to capture these Whirlpool Ninja alive and slice them alive." Hiruzen Kashimaru, holding a spiked longsword, chimed in. After being selected by Kirigakure, his mind had been twisted, and he took pleasure in torturing his enemies. This time, the Whirlpool Ninja's actions were a real tactic. Yet, the other members of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen declared their intention to deal with the Uzumaki clan first. "Alright, shut up." Hazuki Genjutsu, already utterly exhausted by the noise, looked on helplessly at these unruly brats. Each one, with their ninja sword tails in hand, was so proud of themselves. Each possessed unique skills, and only the Mizukage could hold them in check. They treated the rest of the group with complete disregard. They really thought war was a joke. Konoha must have received intelligence about the hidden mist village's attack through the land of whirlpools. The Uzumaki clan must have already consulted Konoha to dare such an aggression. They were rushing back with such reckless retaliation. What if there was an ambush? Mizuki-sama, the intelligence on Iwagakure village you've been keeping an eye on has arrived. A mist ninja quickly approached Hazuki Jinjutsu with the intelligence. Hearing the information about Iwagakure, Hazuki perked up. After reading it, a look of anger crossed Hazuki's face. That mummy Tsuchikage was actually planning to attack Konoha right now, right around the time he'd chosen. Konoha now had a new Hokage, and one from the Uchiha clan, so internal instability was inevitable. The Senju clan wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, they wouldn't let the Uchiha consolidate their power so easily. A surprise attack on Konoha at this time would definitely be advantageous. His nemesis, Tsuchikage, clearly shared his sentiments. Konoha was already on alert. And a subsequent surprise attack on Konoha would be fraught with difficulty, especially considering the time it would take to repair the warships. Was he really going to let Tsuchikage take advantage of Konoha for nothing? Hazuki Jinjutsu couldn't accept this. His sworn enemy, Tsuchikage, was reaping the benefits, while he'd suffered such a loss in vain. The next time they met, he'd be ridiculed. With this thought, Hazuki Jinjutsu instantly shifted his stance. If Konoha couldn't be weakened further, at least weakening Iwagakure was fine. Since there is no chance to attack Konoha, then I will raid Iwagakure. The damned Tsuchikage will never expect me to do this. In the First Shinobi World War, Konoha and Kumagakure fought from beginning to end, and both were badly injured. I and Iwagakure have been keeping a low profile. If I let Iwagakure take advantage of Konoha again, wouldn't Iwagakure be soaring in the future? It's decided. Pretend to attack Konoha, then go around behind Iwagakure and beat it up. If I can't beat Konoha, can I beat Iwagakure? Dear readers, please don't skip the subscription. I really can't come up with a chapter title that can attract you. Ugh, if you skip the subscription again, I will have to kneel down and beg you. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.